I'm pretending.
Yeah, hit the button.
All right,
boom.
cool.
Don't hit it again. You can't hit it again, or the stream dies.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay.
We're here.
Is this everybody? Sorry we're late. I was having some background problems.
Is this a if the stream dies, we die situation?
Oh,
like,
man.
do we have to be careful?
Oh no, it's like Speed, but for Twitch. Speed
Well,
the movie. Speed the movie.
We're done. We're done then, because if the stream goes below 8 megabits, we all die. We're already dead.
If the bit rate drops below 50 megabits per second.
That would be funny.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? Let me send this to you, Braithorn.
Sure.
We got Braithorn here in the house.
Hi.
By the way.
I'm in the house.
Mute your laptop. Classic.
Wow.
Oh wow. Rookie move. First time on the show.
I don't know. Are we live? We're like live as in I know I'm alive.
We're
Do you mean
live.
on the internet?
Like, yeah, we
I didn't
figured
agree
out
to
it.
this.
Oh, whoops.
I didn't agree to
Okay,
this.
go ahead and hit that button then.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Are you? What I want to know is, besides obviously, first I was complaining about WebP because that was just a horrible
I hate
format.
open source stuff too.
Yeah.
What's the argument with WebP,
I mean-
like GIF and GIF? Is it web?
Web.
Well, can't they get more people to adopt the damn format though? That's my problem. It's free. Why isn't it just like supported everywhere?
So what is it that isn't supported for you that you're upset about?
Well, I was clipping something and I put it in, and for some reason, like Windows does not, of course, support the extension, so it does not show up as a thumbnail. So maybe there's some stupid stupid ass download I have to do from the Windows store to
button.
get it to
You
work.
have to get the WebP enhancement pack or something, right?
Is it really?
From the Microsoft store.
It's like getting what Apple's stupid lightly compressed video / photo format HEIC, getting that to work in Windows requires
HEVC?
3 downloads too. Yeah.
Now, what the hell do they call theirs? Oh, HEIC.
HEIC is the image one. HEVC is the video one, I think. Right.
Yeah, videos. HEVC is video, which actually is most people can see
HEVC,
now,
yeah.
but it's
took
hype,
too
right?
long, though.
HEIF. Yeah.
Yeah. Adobe still doesn't support WebP, really. I think the last time I haven't looked in a while. Affinity.
So you can bring it into
supports WebP.
Photoshop.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Adobe's had this thing where they don't even if somebody gives them the formula for their raw file, they won't use it. They always want to reverse engineer because they don't want to get stuck with the bill later. So,
Well, the fundamental problem with that stuff is that like you're comparing 100% support across all computers made in the last 20 years to some number that's less than 100%. So if you want somebody to be able to see the picture, you're going to send a JPEG. It's just even if the WebP is better, it's going to take 15 years before everybody switches to WebP, and then we'll have WebQ.
yeah, and then nobody will even support it by then. So,
but
but then
I
here's
believe
the
it
other thing.
WebQ.
What's up with the new YouTube layout? Like,
They
God.
they rolled it back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And then
Did
I
they
got
really?
And yeah, they rolled it back.
not for everybody.
Yeah, not for everybody.
I got
And
an
then-
opt-in thing.
Yeah, and then I got an opt-in thing, and I was like,
I did not.
dismiss.
No,
I
thank you.
hate that new layout.
Like I don't want to see descriptions. Why would I want to see video
Real bad.
descriptions at all?
Real bad.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time writing video descriptions.
But all the
Yeah.
videos are below, so you now get your main video, and then all the videos below, and then the chats on the side.
It's
Obviously,
just-
they're trying to. I don't know. I guess
hate that
they
layout.
they want to set up everything so you can just scroll through stuff, right?
It- I will say it does scale better for window. Like if you're scaling the actual window, I think that's what they're trying to do is to account for different like window size options. Like it scales a little better, but
it kind of it to me it feels like they're trying to bring doom scrolling to long form videos. That's what they're trying to do.
That sounds
yeah, 'cause
great.
They're like, this works great for shorts. Which that's one way for us to ruin YouTube. Let's bring that to long form. That's
it's their war with TikTok, right? Because they've obviously been losing TikTok.
Yeah.
So they want to. That's why I kind of see it as they want to get people used to that layout, so now you can doom scroll forever.
exactly. And it really is the if you can't beat them, join them mentality when it comes to YouTube and how they're developing YouTube into what other platforms have been for since they started, because it works for them. But anyone who's grown from shorts has told me like, yeah, no one watches my long form stuff.
I mean,
So
that's
it's
Look, the shorts. Look, TikTok is killing itself because now, I open up TikTok, And I don't use TikTok all that often, so it doesn't know that much about me. So like every third thing I get is for some sort of fitness product that you stand on, and it makes you jiggle to lose weight, which I thought we got rid of in the 50s.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of very shaky people, and it's just so many people trying to sell stuff in their crappy store, and it's like Temu plus video now. So I'm probably good. It turns out.
Yeah, it's funny. My advertising on Twitter X is always weight loss or ED. And I'm like, look, guys, you're half right. Okay, you're half right.
I mean, at least it's half right, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not too bad considering some platforms.
Could lose a few pounds. I could. I honestly could.
But Gordon, what are we talking about here today? What are we actually talking about here today?
We're talking about all of it's a Computex roundup, basically chips, memory, cases, and more. So basically, everybody wants anything. Everybody wants to talk at Computex. I actually kind of want to talk a little bit about power supplies too, because there's all kinds of stuff. I really didn't get to catch up on all the case information, and then obviously the chips news is from the Big Four, and I think it's fair to call it the Big Four now, right? So, AMD. I try to go alphabetical, but like I can't get it in my brain. AMD, Intel,
NVIDIA.
who's next? NVIDIA and Qualcomm. So just anything that was new out of there, the actual chip stuff, and then obviously the RAM stuff. That was everybody's kind of a surprise, actually. I think the RAM stuff was quite a surprise.
Yeah.
The Cam 2 stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you say you sent me the copy?
I did in Discord.
Okay.
Braithorn's going to do the ad read for us.
All right.
I would love to.
So ad read, and then we do the intro.
Yeah.
All right.
The ad read ends with pick up this premium case today. And then you start, Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah. You ready?
All right. Yes.
All right. To this camera. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I've got to read the thing too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. To that camera. That's
right.
The camera's there.
With the smiley face.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Gordon was always like, "Where's the camera?" I'm like, "Look at the one with the smiley face. That's the one."
We don't have a light on there.
No tally light.
Let me just
We're
put
not
this-
sophisticated
I've never worked
enough.
anywhere with. I've never been able to afford tally lights. Who are you talking about?
I'm just trying to put this in something where I can make it larger real quick.
That's how Gordon likes to roll, is tally lights.
One person. You have to have one person to change the tally light. There's no way.
Okay. I don't have anything ready to do that. So, okay. All right.
I should read it. You get it.
Okay.
You get it.
This episode is sponsored by Silverstone. The Suco 17 is a case that gives you crazy hardware flexibility in a compact package. Crave airflow? The Suco 17 can be configured to support up to 11 case fans. Need liquid cooling? No problem. It can be configured with not one, but two 360mm radiators. Head to the link in the description to check out all the other configuration options and pick up this premium case today.
In this episode of Full Nerd, chips, memory, cases, and more. Welcome to episode 3. Okay, I can't read the
304.
I can't hear the audio, but not just. Welcome to episode 304 of The Full Nerd. I'm your host, Gordon Mong, with Will Smith.
Hi, hello, hi.
Special guest Braithorn.
Hi. I talk about pre-built and pre-built accessories. In honor of your
And
background.
Patrick Murray controlling the vertical and horizontal.
Yeah, kind of. Willis is still hanging out in Taiwan, having some fun, and then Alex is taking some time off too. So I was like, okay, well, how am I going to control the verticals and horizontals from this table? So I got this wireless trackball.
Who handles the diagonals, by the way?
Both at the same time.
Right.
It's one's right brain half, and the other one's left half of the brain.
Right.
So yeah, one's vertical, one's horizontal.
Okay.
Usually Gordon gets the tangents though. He's very good at those.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I want to know? Is anybody here ever actually adjusted the vertical and horizontal? Because I have. I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
Will has.
Yeah, I got in big trouble when I went to my grandparents' house one time, and I adjusted the verticals, the horizontals, and the hue for them, and made everybody look like a Smurf.
Oh.
Yeah, I was not allowed to touch the back of the TV after that.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about physically, I wish I was a little bit more vertical and less horizontal.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Boom.
Hey, we all got that, brother.
Well, I think we all got a little extra horizontal from all the night market food. In
yes.
Taiwan.
Oh, yeah.
Because Braithorn was there. That was your first time.
My first
time
Computex.
and to
Oh, wow.
Taiwan in general.
And to be
Right,
going
yeah,
to
yeah.
Taiwan, Taipei, all that in general. Yeah. Loved it.
It's like the dumpling situation looked remarkable, I'm gonna say.
The quickest way to get me excited about food, 2 words: soup dumplings. I'm done. I'm done. Like that's forget it.
Very yummy.
Oh yeah.
Also, of course, I got really addicted to capsule toys. I got this new series. They had it at the Taipei 101. So Taipei 101, one of the largest towers in the world. One of the claims to fame is that they have this dampener ball at the top of it that helps like the swaying or whatever. And then I found out they have these little characters. These are like the little dampener ball characters, which is just the dampener ball is the head. And then from the capsule machine, it has, I didn't get all of them, or I'm not showing all of them here, but the little dampener ball character hanging out with some of the main attractions of Taiwan. So that was a pretty good.
I got to say their tchotchke game is on point.
Oh yeah,
it's little.
You can spend a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
real quickly on little tchotchkes.
Yes. Like,
is it just one machine, or is it a whole ton of machines up there?
There's machines everywhere. I'll say for these dampener ball ones, it was one specific machine that they had multiple versions of at the Taipei 101. So you could only get these at Taipei 101.
If you like physical gotchas and crane games, like you will be in heaven over there. There's just crane game edifices there, just like.
Okay, so but like crane game such, because crane game has a wide variance between whether crane game is fun or whether crane game is impossible. What was the skill level of these crane games?
In Taiwan, it's never fun. It isn't. Okay. It's just all people like cursing at their lives.
There's kind of a social contract that you got going on there. Like you know what you're going into. You know what you're going into. You're there to play, not necessarily there to win.
You're never there to win. You're never there to win.
Okay, so when you're at the crane game, what's the etiquette on like whether you're help the person in front of you or behind you? And like, if somebody's like, "Hey, can you spot me and see? Do I look like I'm good from the back?" Do you help with that, or are you like, "No"?
It depends the language barriers. Because sometimes you're just yelling and pointing, and you're just like, they're probably like, "Dude, I don't know what you're saying." Back off.
I mean, going solo is just like it's hard mode, and then you got easy mode if you have someone helping you with the depth.
Yeah, the depth. Yeah.
This is what you came here for, right?
Yeah. Also, so we were talking about stinky tofu earlier.
Okay.
We don't have to get too into it. Willis from a distance is gonna cry a little tear if we get too into it. But this time, which I've had before, I have tried. You got to try it at least once.
You've got I don't have to.
Yes,
do anything.
you have to try.
I don't have to do
once.
anything, Adam.
You should.
What is the stinky? What's
is it fermented? It's fermented, right?
It's fermented, and on the street markets, it's fried tofu pieces.
That sounds fabulous.
Listen,
wait, was that a joke?
No, I love fermented stuff and I love fried things. So why not combine them into one wonderful flavor?
All right. Well, okay. Promise me if you ever get a chance, you have to try it.
Do we need to repeat the name for you though? It's called stinky tofu. They're not joking around. It permeates everything. You leave the night market, you smell of not of the king crab legs or the buns, the spicy pork buns that are amazing. You smell of stinky tofu.
I don't. I'm going to go ahead and tell you I don't see the downside here.
Okay.
My favorite cheese is the one that smells like foot. So
yeah. Okay. It's fine. Yeah.
I mean, it's a mile away. It is a biological weapon.
You don't really know until you experience it. Yeah. So I think Will doesn't quite understand, but you got to guarantee me that if you do, you have to try it.
I've eaten the surströmming. I've eaten I'll eat whatever horror food, your worst horror foods. Give them to me. Bring it.
I will say in the chat we have a German PC World, PC Welt, in the chat. Hi, we're actually hanging out with them at Computex. I can't remember if they tried the stinky tofu or not. Oh no, they didn't. We had a team dinner and they didn't try it. They should have tried it. But you know what I tried for the first time because I was like, okay, stinky tofu. Off my checklist. I was like, okay, my next one, fresh durian, which durian is known to be.
That I would try. That.
Yeah, durian is known to be pungent. Gordon, have you ever had fresh durian?
No, I have not because it's too stinky for me. So.
Yeah, but you like stinky tofu.
No, I'm actually not a huge fan of it.
Well, but it doesn't bother you the way it bothers us, right?
No, it doesn't. And actually, my parents used to eat it, but I think it's just because, the classic thing is the part of southern China that my relatives' ancestry came from is very much southern. And as we know, Southerners have the best food. and also Southerners eat every single thing ever.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
we have the same thing here in the American South, where American food is clearly, as you know, superior to Northern American food, but also Southerners eat every single thing.
You
right?
don't- you don't
Because
waste
just
the
you
animal.
don't waste anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
know,
you
yes.
fry everything.
A lot of chicken
And you fry
livers.
everything. That's
when I was
why.
a
I
kid.
mean, yeah, that's
I
why
am from
Southern
Texas.
food is better, right?
I have tried
Right?
chicken. I have tried chicken gizzards. You know, it's
Yeah.
But then again, it's not for me. But I appreciate that it's a thing that exists because it's not wasteful.
Well, like stinky tofu, you don't want to waste that. You should have tried it.
So they just let it get old. Is that how?
Yeah,
It's like
Look, there's a process.
they let it sit around until somebody tries it.
like this rotted, but like let's just reclassify it. I didn't get sick when I ate it. We're good to go. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
so I did try durian because I was like, okay, that's next on my list. Durian is a fruit. It's actually very large, and then like you kind of like
Kind of spiky, right?
the outside, yeah, and then you kind of carve out the meat chunks in the middle, kind of thing. And it is, I think it's native to Singapore, or is it? I've always heard it in the context of Singapore, but I knew, that it would be in Taiwan. So I did see a fruit stall at one of the night markets, and I saw it, and I was like, okay, here we go. We filmed a little behind the scenes thing, so I won't spoil too much. But my reaction was because durian has that
aroma.
the aroma. It's supposed to be known for its bad aroma. It was not as bad as stinky tofu. I was like, you know what? I didn't like it. It wasn't for me.
That's a high bar, though.
I know, yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, well, at least I'm never going to have anything as bad as stinky tofu. I can get through durian, no problem, because I've had stinky tofu.
Oh man, you're gonna get the Swedes are gonna send us the fermented herring. And
Yes,
you're gonna have
actually,
some
yeah, no.
real regrets.
One of our team members is from Sweden, and he was talking about the. See, the thing is, I don't like fermented stuff, like just in general. And so, yeah.
I want to mention something Retro Sean said
Yes.
here.
Friend of the show, Retro Sean.
I'm right. Friend of the show, Retro Sean says, let's get real here. People think that oysters are good, and that's goopy snot in a rock.
It's
Oh,
true.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't
No, that's
smell
true,
bad.
right?
Oysters are okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna.
No
I'm not
offense
gonna-
to all
I'm not gonna
oyster
be baited
viewers out
here.
there, by the way.
I
Any
bet if it's
oyster
fried,
viewers,
it's pretty good though. I bet
Fried
if it's
oysters.
really.
Not too- I mean, you
See,
fry
like,
anything, and it's good.
they're a little chewy.
Look, the thing about oysters is like the longer they're out of the water, the less good they are. So you want to go to the place where they pull them out of the water and eat them
Fresh.
right there.
Yeah,
Right.
And then they're unbelievable. But if you go to the fish market and they've been there for a day or two and they're of questionable aliveness when you're eating, like you got to eat them when they're still alive.
Yeah,
That's
if
the
you
thing.
can smell it, then that's
don't eat
Right.
oysters.
If it's got to fight you, it's got to be fighting you on the way down, and then you know it's fresh. But I have heard that durian is less on the stinky side when it is absolutely fresh. By the way,
okay.
I've heard that. So like
okay.
canned durian or something, you're in for it. But
And you can get like frozen durian, or like Alex had. Well, I point to Alex; he's not here.
Alex.
Ice cream, durian ice cream. Somebody in the chat said durian milkshake. Like, hey, listen.
Look.
Once again, I didn't like it. It's not my jam. But it was nowhere near the worst that I've ever had. So.
The Asian market by my house has durian sometimes. I'll bring some into the office next time.
Really?
I see it. And,
Oh,
yeah,
that
we'll just pop it
that's
open.
banned in the U.S. So
Is it?
yeah, no, that is
What?
illegal.
oh
No.
boy,
No,
I
that's
believe
not true.
durian is illegal in
that's
the US.
actually why I'm
What?
here. I'm a plant. You're accessory to crime right now.
Yeah,
Just
That's
letting you know.
crazy. I don't think you have that correct. That
Yeah,
would be
really?
like what? Did they stop you like crossing the border with it? Like you're smuggling?
Well, you're
let
not
the
supposed to
cocaine
bring it
go,
on planes.
But get that durian.
Like you're not
Yeah,
supposed to bring it on planes. That's
Well, I think pungent things you're not supposed to bring on a plane.
Yeah.
You can't also bring your
Yeah, not bringing it on planes is the right choice, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I
also
can't bring a
Well,
battery.
you can't
over
bring it in
100 watt hours on a
hotels.
plane,
You
so,
can't,
come on.
you can't bring a banana onto a plane if you're traveling internationally because then the customs people yell at you when you come to the agricultural inspection.
or meat.
Well, Gordon, I brought a pineapple on the plane for you. Well, really, it's in cake form. Brought you a pineapple cake gift there. There you go.
Oh, thank you. The pineapple cakes.
Yeah.
I always like end up with all the extra, NTD, and like I gotta just buy stuff at the store, right? So
Well, I was inspired for this actually by Height. Height was giving some of these out, so I picked up a couple extras as gifts, and I figured you might like one. But
they are good. They
Yeah.
are really good.
so there you go.
Thank you.
I feel bad that you
Cool.
weren't able to go. So
Yeah, no, it's a
we
bummer because
missed
I
having you there.
obviously missed a lot of cool news. Should we actually talk about technology here instead of just?
I don't know. Chad's getting mad about it, and
guess.
and I don't know if
We always get into food talk. you know,
Yeah,
come on.
Look, we're
lunchtime.
wrapping up Computex, but like the experience, and food is part of the human experience. We must consume.
It is definitely an experience. Well, I guess my question, Gordon, from a distance, like what did you think just generally of Computex? Because a lot of people on the ground were like, man, it's kind of ho hum. Some people were like, oh no, this was great. Some people were like, you know, what did you feel like from a distance?
Well, I think a lot of the very focused YouTube community, it's very much about the, meat and potatoes. So unless you actually see, again, desktop is the only thing that everybody thinks the entire world is. But reality is laptops are still the vast majority of computers sold today. So honestly, because we cover both, I think it was a great show because you basically had AMD, Intel, Qualcomm, basically all fighting for CPU. They all had their CPU news, although Qualcomm, they've doled it out over the last, few months, but we got a lot of great news from Intel and AMD there. And then, of course, NVIDIA didn't break anything out, which I think, of course, people were really hoping for a new GPU launch. So I think that probably contributes to it. But I think that's a ridiculous bar that unless you see brand new desktop CPUs and I see all the benchmarks and I see the deep dives on it, then it's not a show I care about. Like, to me, it looked like there was a lot of great information there with a lot of new cases. There was a lot of new RAM, stuff, the showcases. So honestly, from afar, it looked like a really, really good show. But of course, I know everybody they want to see all the details of the new CPUs. They want to see performance. They want to see price. They want to see happens to the old parts. They want to see value. And I think it's just kind of silly. I think that's an unrealistic expectation for a trade show, I think, personally.
That's fair.
To me, the big surprise was how invested the PC laptop OEMs are in the Copilot Plus stuff. I knew it was going to be big, but it felt like the second coming of Centrino to me, in that they were looking at it as a way to drive an enormous number of like just to be clear, Centrino was Wi-Fi on Intel chipsets in like 2003, I think 2002, and it like the hey, you can sit on your couch and use the internet was a real huge selling point, and people bought a bunch of laptops because of that. Lenovo and HP and all of the different vendors that we saw, Acer and Asus and all those, seemed like they're treating this the same way. And I'm going to be really curious to see if the public actually cares enough about, hey, you have AI built into the computer kind of to spend money on that.
Hold on. AI's in the computer now?
Look, you
It's
can
in
get
the computer.
Look, you can have as many as 50 tops. Adam.
50
tops.
50
More than that.
50 AIs in the computer?
Yeah, 50
like all
AIs.
fighting. It's like I see. I thought you said Tabs, the totally accurate battle simulator, and
no.
it's just a bunch of AI on a battlefield in your computer fighting.
No. What it is you have 50 different little user agents, and each one fights with their answer, and then the one that's best ends up publishing it 300 milliseconds later.
See, I actually wish that happened in the laptop. That would be kind of funny,
How
right?
it works.
Oh,
It's
okay.
kind of how it works.
I mean, I will say on the ground. But you probably saw this from a distance, guys, too. But like AI was literally just everywhere.
It was everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was
Just like CES. Same thing,
CES
but-
2023. That was metaverse everywhere.
Yeah.
And that was here and gone really fast, obviously, just like Zuck's money when it came to that. But then for AI, though, it's such a more generalized term and idea.
Yeah.
It's printing money. It is printing money. It's just like the craziest thing I think was seeing. You had your MSI, Gigabyte, and Asus, and all of them just making all of these products based around NVIDIA's AI, and it's just it's all sold out for like the next year already. Like they cannot crank these out fast enough, and they're showing them off as if they're trying to make sales. But like, what are you selling? There's nothing left.
Well, and actually, I guess it once again, it was also a weird, interesting thing because I didn't go to any of the press conferences, and I will say thank you to Gordon and Will for covering the press conferences at very weird hours. But I think we all expected like every fifth word during all of these press conferences was going to be AI. Was that the case?
Pretty much. I mean, I think I joked at the start of one of them that if you had a drinking game, just don't put AI on your drinking game list because you'll get alcohol poisoning in the first like 6 minutes of the show.
Right.
I don't know, Gordon. What do you think? I felt like we talked like those were mostly like the NVIDIA one was all about AI because it was about training. Like they're selling giant computers for data centers to train, and that's pretty much what they talked about. The other three were a little bit less focused, but it was still the thing that they kept coming back to.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's the buzzword that everybody thinks they're going to attach their train to because that's going to print money. So I do think they are all AI focused, but there was still good information from all of them. Again, you had decent Lunar Lake information out of Intel. Qualcomm, again, they sort of already had revealed most of their secrets, but making statements that they think they're going to take 50% of the PC sales in the next 5 years, that's really, really bold talk. And then, AMD, frankly, had probably the best hard news because you had meat and potatoes you had desktop Ryzen, you had laptop Ryzen, and then of course
you had data center. I'm sorry, Gordon, you had laptop Ryzen AI.
Oh god.
Yeah.
They literally I want to get your take on this. They literally attached AI to the brand name, not the model number, to the brand name. It is not Ryzen anymore, it's Ryzen AI. How do you feel about that?
I think it's smart because they think everybody wants AI. Everybody's being told, this is part of the conditioning process right now. Everybody's being told that AI is the hot new thing. You must have it in your new computer. And even Apple is playing catch up. So I think to not take advantage of that would be stupid. And the fact that they branded that into the name of the laptop CPU is honestly not that surprising. People don't remember this, but I remember groaning when AMD introduced the Athlon XP, which coincided with Windows XP. Like, really? You're going to name your CPU after the Microsoft? And if you think about it, it's really smart because AMD's always come from, they're always second banana to Intel, but to be able to get the actual branding of whatever's hot, and again, Microsoft pours tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into marketing. So they get to take advantage of that. And really, it's a smart move because, again, laptop is not the sophisticated crowd. We're not seeing Ryzen AI in desktop yet, right? So I think they understand that doesn't resonate because most PC gamers, most people on desktop are more sophisticated, but your average person walking into Best Buy and Costco and other retail stores, they see AI branded in the CPU, they're going to go, oh, I need that because AI is good, right? Because that's what everybody's talking about. So it is cynical. It is, but again, they are there to make money, and if you can get people to understand that, hey, it's got the hot new buzzword, you're going to do it. Again, they'd have to be stupid not to try to take advantage of it, right? If you're a company right now and you're like, oh, we're not going to push AI because I know you don't like AI. Well, you know what? The security guards would meet you at your desk when you got back there and they would walk you out the front door is what would happen because this is how you make money. People groaned about NVIDIA's keynote. I get it. I understand it because you want C50 series. I want C50 series. What happened? Next couple days, NVIDIA stock is worth more. Their value is more than Apple, $3 trillion, right? It went up the next day, obviously, because that's, again, you say it and you make money. I mean, they're there to make money, folks. They are not here to make friends of us and sell us products because they love us. They're here to make money, and that's what they do. So I get it. I get it. People are hot about it, but that's how they do this. This is how the game is played. So,
well, but I mean, I think the big takeaway for me, you hit on it earlier, Gordon, is that AMD came out of this. Like, this is a situation that AMD hasn't been in quite a while, where they have like market leading hardware coming on desktop and mobile, and they're equally competitive in mobile. It seems like, at least, until we'll know more when we get the actual benchmarks and real stuff on the new hardware. But like they're in a position, and also in the server and the data center, they're in good shape in all three main PC spaces. And they haven't had that in a long time, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain that while Intel's down before they get through the kind of hinky first few years of their kind of chiplet designs.
So
I'm with you there.
I actually thought there was. I feel like there was a thing going on with the AMD keynote. So the last time with 7000 series Ryzen launch, it was announced at Computex and launched in, I think, late August, right? So like 2.5 months later, right? 2.5 months later. But I'd been predicting before that. I was like, no, because of all this stuff going on with Intel and the power plans in BIOS and all that stuff, that there is there was a negative connotation to high end Intel desktop CPUs that AMD's going to jump on that. That they're going to leverage that, and they're going to actually bring these to market sooner. And sure enough, they said July. So I think that I have to wonder how much of that is reactionary, or if it was just planned beforehand. I don't have the inside knowledge on that or anything, but it's really interesting to see these dynamics between the big names and how they can sometimes be reactionary to the ups and downs of their contemporaries, you might say. But it was nice to see that.
Well, Gordon, it feels like a lot of the reactions were companies reacting to Qualcomm disrupting stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that's a accurate way to portray it?
Well, I think Intel was reacting to it more than AMD. Clearly, because a lot of their focus is on Lunar Lake. They have to get Lunar Lake out the door. Lunar Lake cannot disappoint. I mean, to be honest, Meteor Lake it feels like it did not live up to the promises that we were given in the run up to Meteor Lake. So I think Lunar Lake really has hit out of the ballpark. And again, they are making very, very bold claims that this will reset what people think about x86 and power efficiency. So they have to match. They really, really have to at least match Snapdragon X in battery, in power efficiency. Otherwise, going to be really all this talk, and if you're not there, then that's going to be a problem. So yeah, I definitely think Intel, their number one problem was Qualcomm at the show, because the Qualcomm is obviously paired up very tightly with Microsoft. I don't think they were as concerned with what AMD was doing, because I know people don't realize this, because in our world we think that everybody buys desktops and nothing else exists. But frankly, again, the vast majority of the world buys laptops, and they need to be competitive with Qualcomm more than AMD at the moment, because even despite AMD actually having very good mobile CPUs over the last few years, they really have not been able to eat into Intel's margin in laptops. And that's, again, it speaks to the more mainstream market, because most people that go in, they don't know what a Ryzen is. They don't really even, right? They just go I just need something good. They see the NVIDIA sticker, they see the Intel sticker, and that's all they know, right? So that's they mostly buy on branding.
Well, but I mean, I think if you look at those three big companies, right? You've got Qualcomm that's breaking into a new market where they've never had. I mean, they're using the knowledge of their OEM partners, right? So Lenovo and HP, all the people building Qualcomm laptops, have ins into the retail channel. Intel is having some teething pains with their new architectures. It seems like AMD is through the teething pains with their new architectures and is poised to kind of explode, working with the same partners as Qualcomm and Intel on mobile. I think we're in a position where it's impossible to know who's going to come out of this next few years solid. I think that 50% of the market that Qualcomm suggested they were going to have in 5 years was an incredibly bold prediction. Especially given that we don't know how these machines perform on legacy x86 code at this point, and they pointedly have not posted any benchmarks about that to date with the Microsoft's Prism. Is it a translation layer? Is it an emulator? I don't know.
Right,
we'll find out, I guess.
Well,
7 days, I guess.
How many of you guys would be How many of you guys would be willing to to daily drive a Snapdragon laptop? What do you think?
I do.
I
for
would
content.
actually.
Yeah.
I would actually. I'm actually open to it because again, this is they are hitting exactly the thing that thin and light laptop users, and I mean U-class laptop users. For gaming laptops, I don't think it matters as much.
Right.
But if you use a thin and light, sub 3-pound laptop, having the fans crank up and having the thing heat up and having the thing not shut off, that's just something that it's bugged every single Windows user forever, right?
It doesn't matter how much performance you have if you're out of battery.
Yeah.
Then it's a
or if
paperweight.
it's so loud you can't be on a Zoom, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd be ready to try it, frankly. I actually, again, I look forward to it. I wouldn't have said that before Apple actually successfully pulled off, its M chips, because I never thought ARM would ever be in a position to be competitive, but they're actually somewhat competitive, I think, with us, and so I think that's good. So if Qualcomm could actually sort of bring about this change in the PC market, I wish them luck.
To me, the wild card is the x86 compatibility stuff, because Apple has the benefit of changing their top to bottom ecosystem and forcing all of their developers to embrace the new thing. Microsoft doesn't have that, because no matter how many laptops they sell in the next few years, 90% of Windows users are going to be on x86 for the foreseeable future, just because of legacy hardware that's out in the channel, I guess, until next October when Windows 10 conks out. So you have to assume that they're going to have a harder time getting people to make ARM native software for Windows than Apple had getting Apple developers to port their stuff over. So, for me, if the x86 compatibility stuff isn't good, then it's going to be a real bummer.
It's funny that you bring that up, because they were touting, you can run 1,200 games on this. Do you know how many games there are?
They said they tested 1,200 games on this. They did not say that you can run 1,200 games on this.
Fair, yeah. But I mean, what is it like?
14,000 games released on Steam last year.
Last year. Just from a quick Google search and looking at the terribly inaccurate information you usually get immediately from that, the number 5 million came up. And just including from the first video game, right? But that's it's unless they're talking about the games everyone's playing right now. It's just a funny number. It's funny to say, here's a specific number of games we've tested.
And tested is that was that of the amorphous claims of Computex keynotes, that was the most amorphous of them all, because 1,200 man, I've tested 1,200 games in the last year, but do they run on my ARM laptop? I don't know.
Also, the word "well" wasn't in there. Do they run well? You don't want your game. What is it? Smooth 30? Is that what we're looking for?
Smooth 30.
Yeah.
30.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, see, I think the thing, though, again, I really would want to try a Snapdragon laptop just to see what it's like. But realistically, I could also see, so, you run it for a few months, we get Lunar Lake, we get, Ryzen AI 300 series. And again, Intel makes the vast majority of laptop CPUs. I can honestly see, people going, oh, that's kind of cool, the Snapdragon thing. Oh, but Snapdragon or Lunar Lake it's pretty close. Even if they're a little bit below Snapdragon in battery performance, but they offer 100% obviously of x86 performance, and it's got the Intel name on it, and there's just far more Intel laptops out there running Lunar Lake. I could honestly see that's kind of cool, the Snapdragon thing. I'm going to go with an Intel laptop, and I think that's going to be Snapdragon's big problem, because you know what? I mean, people, they buy Intel. There's a reason why AMD, despite having really, really good, there were times, frankly, they had better parts than Intel did on mobile, the pure CPU itself, right, for efficiency, but it was really hard for them to ever break in. I think it's really just tough to get into that market. So I think in the end, it's still going to be tough. That's why that 50% claim seems like that is really just that is writing off way more than I.
That is assuming immediate adoption into the zeitgeist, being a household name right off the bat. Which I've been using a Snapdragon CPU for a while. We all have,
right?
But not in that context, and that does make a big difference.
Also, Intel and AMD have established product lines all the way down to like the $200 laptop that that you sell at Best Buy, and like the fat part of the curve is probably in the sub $500 range for non-business, for consumer laptops at this point. Qualcomm doesn't have, we don't know what their chips look like for that. I'm sure they're just going to scale down what they're putting in the $1,000 laptops, but without that strategy in place, it's hard to know what their chances are.
So Gordon, you mentioned Lunar Lake. Obviously, that was where Intel put a lot of effort. We actually have a really good long interview that Mark did with. Names are escaping me.
You're forgetting.
Yeah,
It's okay.
Your brain's still in Taiwan.
Dan Rogers and
Dan
Robert.
Robert. Yes, Dan and Robert. Thank you. It was a good time seeing those guys again. They say hi, by the way. And it was so a lot of information that we hadn't had before, but all of the Lunar Lake laptops that were there, even the Lunar Lake handheld that MSI had announced was there, but it was all behind glass. You couldn't touch it, couldn't get any feel for it at all. What do you think about that, Gordon?
Well, they have to protect it to make sure there's no kind of slip-ups and creating really bad headlines like, oh my gosh, somebody had it on display and then somebody installed the benchmark and boom, right? And then what's really unfair about that is you are basically looking at engineering sample BIOSes, hardware that is not ready, and then somehow, as we know, as we're all part of the media, then the headlines run away like, oh my God, Lunar Lake performance is terrible, right? Trash. So you can't have those things happen. So that's why you would want to protect it. There actually were some Lunar Lake hardware on display. I think I saw WCCF Tech actually had a few screenshots or pictures of Lunar Lake hardware running, but it was tightly controlled. It's not like you could install benchmarks on them, but they were there if you look for it.
Well, and Intel even showed off they had a little demo to run. So
yeah, that's a very promising demo, right? Because they showed it. That if you go to Mark's video, he actually showed it running. They ran 3D Mark. Was it Wildlife?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3D Wildlife, both of them locked down to a fixed, I don't know, was it fixed TDP or fixed clock?
Well, it was a 1080p 60.
Yeah, so they had to basically fix, and they were getting 50% more performance out of Lunar Lake at the same power, I think, than they were getting out of Meteor Lake.
Other way around it, at the same performance, it was using almost 50% less power.
Yeah. So,
which, I mean, especially for handhelds, I mean, that's why I did an interview with MSI kind of talking about their plans, and they were like, oh yeah, Lunar Lake is going into this new one, and so far they think that's definitely going to be some good uptick in battery life and efficiency and all that kind of stuff, and performance as well.
Right.
So,
but again, back to your point of like it all being under glass and protected is, again, you don't want to have it turn into bad news story that just kind of runs away and they're beating down for a week. You don't want that to set the narrative but then also it sort of speaks to the fact that it's obviously not quite nailed down. If it were really, really nailed down, then we probably would have seen a lot more hardware that would have been more approachable. So it just sort of gives you, an indicator that they are just running at 11 just to get this thing out the door, right? It just feels like that. And honestly, they are, because Intel is in the position of having to fight everybody. They're fighting AMD, they're fighting Qualcomm. It's almost like they're fighting Microsoft in some bizarre way, because Microsoft is pushing Qualcomm so hard. And then they also have to worry about NVIDIA on, in the data center. So there's just they are just surrounded by everybody, right? I mean, everybody, but again, it's like it's an old standoff where everybody's enemy. So, but you do worry because again, the real Meteor Lake was very much hyped up to be this, this is it. Meteor Lake is going to be, the next big thing. And it was really architecturally pretty cool, but it really had a short lifespan if you think about it, because it felt like it came out late. It wasn't tuned up. It wasn't tuned correctly. The performance wasn't quite all there. The battery performance wasn't all there. It just feels like they are just running, with their hair on fire. So that could be an indicator of that, which isn't good,
And what is your take on having the memory on die?
I I don't have a problem with that. I would have liked it if they had a 64 gig configuration. I'm not sure if that's actually the IMC that is the issue there, or maybe they just cut it off for power. But they did say they did that specifically for power, because you move the DRAMs as close as you can to the actual SoC. You get more performance. You get you save power, and all the indicators are they pulled every single trick out of the book in order to make Lunar Lake amazingly power efficient. So I don't have a problem with that. And again, Apple's been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
I thought the media kind of went off a little bit too much, including us. Like, oh, I can't believe you can't change the memory. Well, when's the last time you could actually upgrade LPDDR5X or 4X? Well, you never could, because it's always been soldered down to the board. So I never quite understood that.
Especially on thin and light. I mean,
Right.
But yeah, it's a
and
thin
they
line,
were
right?
they were pretty open. Hey, Lunar Lake, the discussion we're talking about right now is on thin and light, systems. More gaming laptop kind of stuff is they'll talk about later with Arrow Lake stuff. So
You did mention gaming laptop Snapdragon earlier, and though they were cagey about it, there was mention of the 8 unused PCIe lanes that are there. So it could be a thing, and it could be really good. We don't know. But if they had something, though, if they already had something developed, they would have been showing it off. So that's why they were being cagey about it. They're like, no mention of that yet.
Yeah.
8 extra
And not-
PCIe lanes.
Definitely not ready either, right? I think they'd be biting off too much if they tried to also jump into gaming. They have to really get this. They got to get these products out the door. They got to prove that these things don't suck in emulation, and then they could worry about sort of biting the gaming thing off, I think.
I mean, and then there's a question of like, is it going to be their product? Are they going to partner with NVIDIA or AMD? Man, it's just like a whole other can of worms. But it's an exciting can of worms, I think.
It's an exciting time for PCs. That's what I came out of this whole Computex window with. Like things are going to be real weird for the next year or two as we figure out who ends up winning and losing out of the next generation of hardware.
Yeah, and it's actually good. I mean, to me, I'm with you, Will, because I think it's a overall positive for people that live in the PC world, because you have multiple companies trying to get you to give them their money. So that generally means better products, hopefully better prices. So that is far better than being trapped on an island where you can't get off and you can only buy the same product from that same company to replace it. Mm-hmm. And that company generally does not have any incentive to improve itself, right? Because you're giving them their money anyway, right? You're not going to leave. So
we're thinking about the wall.
I'm not
the
saying
walled
who
garden.
that company is.
The walled garden kind of, maybe it's a
what
garden with
company?
walls. It's a
Yeah.
garden that has nice walls.
It's a
to it.
really pretty garden.
Right.
Walls has machine gun nests and razor wire to
Oh my
protect
goodness.
you as well.
It's to keep people out, Gordon. It's to keep the bad
keep
people
them
out.
out.
That's right. The bad people with the wrong color bubbles on their texts. Those people.
You have to say, I mean, obviously I'm shading Apple here, but it is funny, like they just did this big Apple AI announcement, and it feels like they are oddly behind on this. It really is just bizarre, isn't it? They have to partner with ChatGPT for a lot of their AI infrastructure. It's just like, what? I don't understand.
I was I thought maybe didn't it was there something about it being locally sort of generated, things like that on the device, which does help with latency.
So there's going to be a whole. I think that's the next AI battle, right? Is what runs in the cloud and what runs on your local NPUs. The Apple hardware has had NPUs since the birth of their ARM-based laptops on laptops and desktops, and it's been on the phone for years at this point. Lower capacity than what they're shipping with the Copilot Plus stuff. But yeah, so their whole thing was. They're using you can prompt Siri will prompt a ChatGPT query, and it'll send it. It'll say, "Hey, this looks like something we should ask ChatGPT. Do you want to do that?" And then you can do it without having to pay or have a ChatGPT account, which I guess is nice. I don't know. Seems like the kind of thing I'm going to turn off almost immediately.
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me is that their stuff seemed to be more, "Hey, that we're putting AI in this." So you can revise your stuff rather than it so that it can generate a first draft for you, which I thought was a different angle. It was surprising because most of a lot of the PC stuff. If we want to talk about the other trend I saw at Computex is nobody was giving use cases for what you can use AI for,
Right.
at all.
Why would you
There were a
challenge them
couple-
like that? That's a challenging question. They didn't think that far ahead.
Yeah, but But so I don't know. To me, the Apple thing yesterday seemed like the least AI stuff they could do, so that their shareholders won't be upset and ask questions like, "Hey, what's Apple's AI strategy?"
I think the funniest thing is that they called it Apple Intelligence, but people are going to call it Apple AI. So we're all going to be saying Apple Intelligence.
It's like ATM machine.
Yeah, right, right.
You don't say machine at the end of ATM.
Some people do.
Well, some people do. I do.
Yeah.
Speaking of an AI use case, though, the one use case that I did see at Computex that we got a demo of, which I thought was pretty interesting, was the NVIDIA G Assist stuff. Did Jensen actually talk about that on stage or no?
I don't think he did. I don't
okay.
remember that. Let me. I can check my notes, but
So yeah, G Assist, which we got the demo of it too. I mean, it was early days. They kind of was showing off a prototype kind of thing. It's not actually implemented any games yet. The game they were showing was Ark, that survival game.
It's easy mode. It's like tutorial through the whole game, basically. Well, kind of.
Well, yeah, it's like, hey, imagine if you had a chat client built into the game that could read what was on the screen and help you out with things. So the thing that they had this like little walled off area and this big monster. I don't play Ark, so I don't remember what the things were.
They're dinosaurs, I believe.
Something. And it was like, oh, hey, how do I take this down? It was like a Windows G kind of thing. This wasn't built into GeForce Experience or the NVIDIA app, whatever it's called now, but I could see it doing that way. And they said they could either implement it at like the driver level, or they can actually implement it in the game. But imagine if you could just hit a hotkey real quick and it's like, oh, hey, how do I take this monster down? It would actually read the frames that are being rendered to visually understand what the monster was, but then also look in your inventory to say, hey, what do I have in here to take it down with? And then it was like, okay, well, now that I have this stuff crafted, how do I actually do it? And then show like a step-by-step tutorial of how to do it. They did it in the thing, and that was like, oh, okay, you know what? I could see that rather than like going out to like a GameFAQs or something like that.
For the older gamers like us in the audience, basically imagine if the Nintendo Power Hotline could see your screen and talk you through it.
Yeah, yes,
and didn't charge you $2 a minute. Also.
Right. Worth it.
Is that a real thing?
They did that in the 80s.
Yeah, 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Oh my
there
god!
There was a 900 number you could call, and it was a shocking number of people that are well-known game developers now started working at that as like the Nintendo hotline guides, where they would sit and tell people how to beat Blaster Master.
Have you ever tried to beat the original Metroid or Nestroid? There's no map. I'm sorry, I'm not going to rant.
You have to be good at games, man.
I mean, I'm just surprised because the incentive for a game developer then is to make it so damn hard to beat that everybody calls your 800 line.
Subsidized by Nintendo.
Why is it 800? I'm surprised it's not a 1900.
It was a 900 number. Or maybe you had to give them a credit card. I can't remember. I never actually was allowed to do it. My mom was like, "Are you out of your mind? Just play more. Get good,
just
noob.
Get good. Yeah,
just go to the internet." Oh wait, no, hold on.
But
it's the wrong generation.
And I should say this G Assist was running locally. That was once again it depended on the implementation. They could say they were like, hey, who knows, we're just putting this in this idea out there and we'll see how it's implemented kind of thing. But that was the one thing that I was like, oh, okay, I could see that as somebody who's not good at video games, and I definitely can get frustrated easily with games, to be able to be like, hey, you know what, just tell me what I need to do right now.
So did this require some sort of integration with the game to pull like the inventory data, or was it scanning your inventory using visual machine learning?
It could be both. In this demo, it was just scanning visually what you had in your inventory, understanding what it was. So they said they built out the framework and then went to the developers of Ark, because I did ask like, hey, how much of this was built with the developers? And I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the development team behind Ark, but they were like, oh no, we built this. Took it to the developers to say, hey, can we use this as an example to show off? And, I'm sure they were more than happy
Absolutely.
to have NVIDIA be showing off their game. So, yeah, they said in this scenario, it was like less overhead from the developer. But once again, if the developer wanted to take this and actually implement it in the game and say, hey, here's information that we can train beforehand, because maybe we think that a lot of people are going to be looking for this or that, but they were like, hey, also, but if it doesn't have a game implementation, it can just read off of what's in the screen and hopefully help you as well. So
and over time it might get
interesting.
better. It might get better over time.
I thought it was interesting.
I saw another implementation as well. Went to ASUS HQ. And they had sort of a walkthrough thing there where they were showcasing some stuff. And one thing that they had is an AI implementation because they had to have something might be gunning for our jobs as PC-centric content creators. It's something that guides you through the process of speccing out a PC, picking your parts, and then the process of building it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
I did
like,
see that. Yeah.
I'm like, I should feel threatened. I don't, but I should. But honestly, it's cool. Anything that can help people who are new to PCs to help them get into PCs.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of. I am.
I don't remember what they called it. They did have a name for it. It was early days.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the idea is, imagine if you could go to a website and kind of put in a use case scenario of like, oh hey, I'm a struggling student. What can I, what kind of PC can I build? And it would recommend products, obviously from the ASUS product stack. But then
a little biased.
But then it the next tab was, hey, I put all of the, assuming you got all those parts. The next tab was, hey, we put all of the PDFs of instruction manuals in one spot. Because they knew that you already had those parts, and I was just like, "Oh, that's the real killer app right there!" Like,
every time I see one of those demos, I'm like, "Oh, that seems neat if it works." And then I think you guys may have been even traveling. Google rolled out their AI search results and got so thoroughly roasted within like 5 days that they rolled back to the previous version of search.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like, I'm not too worried about that from a career safety standpoint.
Well, and yeah, the ASUS implementation, was definitely early days. Like they only had like 18 products in the database, because I was like, oh, do you have all the ASUS products that you sell? And they're like, not quite yet. And then also you couldn't get super specific about like, hey, I have $500 and I want to build an NVIDIA based system. What is the best configuration for that? It was more like a broad scenario of situations.
I honestly think it would be better implemented as for troubleshooting. I think that would be better. I think that would be a great way to help get people into being able to troubleshoot and repair their own stuff. Mm-hmm. And that'd be a good step towards right to repair, wouldn't it? That'd be good.
But also that troubleshooting AI could just be a flowchart that starts with "Have you tried rebooting?" and ends with "Maybe
have you
replace
tried
the
to defrag?"
motherboard. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, troubleshooting is a process of elimination. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But then you have a helpful AI helping you out with that. Sure. I mean, but then you also can have the visuals and animations on how to do the things that we had to stumble through learning ourselves.
That's true.
Way back. So
what are they training it on? Did they say what? Is it built on their own employee information, their own help forms, or are they doing this thing where they basically watch all the YouTube PC content?
No. It wasn't that deep yet. It was literally
it's
just
still
like
pretty shallow.
Yeah. It was like, oh, hey, here's some products that we have. Here's some general guidelines of what the kind of people who might want this product stack.
It stood out to me because it wasn't as esoteric as some of the use cases we hear. It seemed pretty practical. It wasn't too off in the wings there. It was right there, something
practical.
that you can actually use.
Yeah.
So that stood out to me immediately. Companies, if you make something that's practical, that's going to catch my attention. That's all.
And some of it was so practical that like it didn't really need to be called AI. Like my and I'm going to pick on Elgato here because this is just one use case. I love Elgato products, but they had they were like, oh hey, we have this new feature in our prompter software that as you speak, it'll move based off of it knows what lines you're reading, and I'm like, it's not really AI. It's kind of that's been there for a long time. Yeah, that's been there for a long time. You didn't need to call it AI, but like whatever.
That is nice though. That used to be somebody's job. This the AI scroller, the prompter scroller.
Yeah.
I mean, or a little remote. You just have a remote.
Do you think we're sort of in that because the classic computer term for this is killer application. So we need it feels like we haven't seen a killer application for consumers that's built around AI yet, right?
Well, I think a big part of the problem. Oh, sorry, Gordon.
But
I was just say I think the killer application is stuff that our phones have been doing for years, and therefore they can't market against it. So they can't say, "Hey, voice recognition on Windows is suddenly going to be as good as your iPhone," or you're going to be able to copy text out of photos all of a sudden, which you've never been able to do on Windows really before, or in extremely limited ways. So, like, then they're having to go one layer deeper, and you get into really janky implementations.
It's not a great marketing approach. Hey, it doesn't suck anymore.
Yeah.
It's markedly less crappy.
Well, we actually got a question from a friend of the show, mostly running at Stock over on Discord, said, with most of the AI stuff ranging from the innovation trigger phase to the in-peak of inflated expectations phase on the Gartner hype cycle, how long before you think we will hit the trough of disillusionment? Maybe that's a better way to ask this.
I mean, it seemed like after Google had to pull their search where the trend line is going the wrong direction for the AI fans right now would be my guess. I thought we had until the end of the year probably, but it seems like it's accelerating.
Gordon, where do you think we're at?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like if Nvidia is still, again, $3 trillion company, it feels like we have another few years left. I think again, something's just going to come along and wow us. There's part of the hype phase is, again, when was it ChatGPT showed off those AI created movies, people were like, oh my God, everybody freaked out, of course, in Hollywood, and a lot of independent video producers like, this is really kind of like amazing, right? And scary too. So I think it's pretty easy for them to continue to push those use cases out in front of people and get people jazzed up and have, normal news talk about it. So it's middle of 2024. I'd give it another couple of years before people get really kind of jaded. And unless, of course, we start to see, it actually improve your computing life. And we're just in the very, very beginning stages of this. So Windows will continue to make changes to the OS. Obviously, they've fumbled the ball already, but I don't think they've ended it yet. But there will be things that I think people will see value out of, I would hope, in the next couple of years, and then that might be able to save it, to push it further. But I figure we have another 24 months. I mean, Google just feels like they can do no right at this point. So I don't know if that's really the good judge of that, because again, you want to talk about somebody running around with their hair on fire? That's definitely Google, right? Because
My goodness.
let's start recommending what any random person on Reddit says for millions of people to do around the globe.
Too soon.
That seems dangerous.
But I mean, just to be clear, I think that we're going to see some there's limited use cases that make a lot of sense. Voice recognition, automatic captioning, like image recognition, stuff like that is all really good. It's the generative large scale stuff that requires scraping the entire internet that I think is going to have some real problems, both from a legal standpoint, like how does that live under the GDPR, man? I don't know. That seems like it's a challenging thing.
I mean, there you're talking about augmented AI. Like, we're augmenting things with AI. When when you have something, you have a base of video or something. Like you have your audio. I need to tune my audio with AI, whatever. To me, that's the useful stuff, and we've already been using that for a long time. I mean, if you've used Photoshop, you've used AI. If you've used a lot of content creation stuff. But when you try to make the core of it through AI, it has nothing to start from. You got to find something. You have to scrape. You have to do that. And so whenever I hear something like, oh, you want some B-roll of some scene flying over a forest, sure, for your other stuff that you already have that has people in it. But when I hear about companies wanting to make AI influencers, that's when I'm like, cool, right into the uncanny valley we go. But, bring me back a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I will say I did ask a number of vendors, like, hey, are we in a bubble? Is the bubble going to burst, or is there going to be any sort of backlash to putting AI literally on everything? Are you worried about that? And there were a number of vendors who were like, actually, what I think is going to happen is that there's not going to be a killer app. There's not going to be a bubble. There's not going to be a backlash. It's just going to naturally integrate in everything we do. And in a number of years' time, we're not even going to think about it anymore. It's just kind of there, kind of like what happened on the phone, right? Like, it's like, hey, none of this will happen because it's just going to like seep in. Right now, it's like in our faces, but it'll just silently kind of go in the background, and we just won't even think of it as a different thing. It'll just be in there.
I think it's gonna rely on convergence, bringing it to things that already exist, things that we already do, and bringing things together, like bringing different features together and services together, things like that. That's, I think, where it's going to thrive. But I mean, that would be the easy mode. I think that's what makes sense to me. The things we wouldn't recognize and pay attention to, and just sort of, as you said, bring into our lives.
Yeah,
with no problem.
Something that I think some manufacturers were curious to bring into everyday consumer lives was Cam 2. I felt like, Gordon, that was kind of like the interesting micro trend that we saw coming out of Computex, because I feel like everyone was kind of covering it. Gordon, you have been deep into Cam just in general for ever since it kind of launched, but this was definitely an inflection point. What do you think of all this Cam stuff?
I was actually kind of surprised that so many vendors got aboard. Originally, I did the video that I cut first on Cam, on DDR5 Cam 2 was based around the MSI announcement. They showed off basically on X.com that they had a Cam 2 motherboard. And then, of course, you get to Computex, and it seems like Asus had it, ASRock had it, G-Skill had some and there were quite a few DRAM vendors as well that had Cam 2 modules and LPDDR5 Cam 2 modules as well.
There was a Cam handheld?
There was, LP DDR5 Cam 2. I was kind of surprised. It really seems like a lot of people are really dipping their toe in it. So I was quite shocked. I didn't think it would be shown off that way. Again, I still think this is not going to replace current, UDIMMs, unbuffered DIMMs that we have immediately, because there's going to be cost adder with it. It's there's just so much UDIMMs out there. It's not going to become mainstream anytime immediately, but it does portend of like a really positive trend that, people really embrace it. And a lot of the comments that I was reading out there, like people are like, oh, I really dig this Cam 2 stuff. And again, if you don't know what Cam 2 is, Adam just ran a video on Cam 2. I did a video on Cam 2. We've covered it for a few years now, but it is essentially a new memory module form factor that brings higher density and potentially higher performance, as well as a different way of mounting it to your motherboard or laptop. So,
well, and it was meant more for low profile situations like a laptop,
limited Z height.
Right. And I think that's why we were confused to see it on the desktop, which that was the crux of my video, because I'm not an expert in the Cam stuff. I linked back to your deep dive, but I was like, hey, what are the vendors telling us of why you would put it on the desktop? Because that was the big question of like, hey, you don't really usually have to worry about height on a desktop. Like why are you even doing this? And I thought it was interesting because I took the time to talk to each of the vendors to get their background in why they're having these, and these were all engineering samples. These were all just proof of concept kind of things. None of them were saying, hey, we're going to market with this exactly, but they all kind of had a completely different reasoning for doing it. Which I thought that was pretty interesting. But to your point, Gordon, I was surprised that there were a lot of comments of people being like excited about it, and especially I feel like from the turn of those early days when you were covering it and people were just like, it's a proprietary Dell connector, it's never going to go anywhere, and now JEDEC owns it. And it feels like it could be going somewhere. We do have a comment in the chat. I want to hear your take, Gordon. Toby Treat says Cam 2 will go the way of RDIMM. Do you agree?
Wow. I don't know. I mean, we still have to see it materialize. Again, that's why I was kind of surprised that we saw so many DDR5 Cam 2 modules there, because my feeling is UDIMMs are actually pushing very high clocks, although they're pushing those very high clocks unofficially. So those are all overclock modules. I think with Cam 2, you should be able to actually get to very high clocks without having to use non-JEDEC, specs. But I still sort of see it as the thing to go for with DDR6, with, LPDDR6. It just sort of makes more sense, because the original argument for Cam, the original Cam argument was, you could do 2 SODIMMs and it was okay, but if you did 4 and this is a classic thing on motherboards, right? Where you can run really high overclock modules if you run 2 modules, or you have a 1 DPC, right? One dimmer channel board. You can do that, but if you're going to try to run a 2 dimmer channel board, it gets really, really problematic. And of course, I know you're going to get the motherboard RAM nerds like, oh, it depends on the topology of the motherboard. But generally, if you're going to fill every module on a board, there's going to be a cost hit. So I sort of think it's really going to do better, with DDR6. It'll have a more powerful argument with DDR6.
So you brought up a question, a good thing. So you mentioned the 1DPC thing, and it reminded me. I was watching your deep dive, and you were bringing up the JEDEC spec, showing what they had there, and you had there was the single dual channel Cam 2, but then there was also dual single channel stacked.
Yeah.
So my question there is, because I think what a lot of us would be wondering about, looking at some of these megatransfers per second speeds that they're talking about, what about thermals if you have 2 stacked single channel Cam 2? What are thermals going to be like? I mean, are we basically insulating the bottom one?
Yeah, I sort of saw because originally the original Dell Cam spec was all the modules were dual channel,
right?
And then it got the JEDEC, and the JEDEC members, again, it's run by committee, right? They came out of that, and they basically split the connector down the middle so they could do dual channel and single channel versions. I sort of see the single channel modules as very, very high capacity modules. So typically, servers, workstations where you might need, a terabyte of RAM or more.
Right.
So I don't really see that being that much of an issue, because in a properly designed workstation server, it's not like, somebody getting their AI telling them how to build their PC and then like not building it right. I think those will be properly built enterprise commercial machines that won't have that issue. And I don't think for consumers, we'll see though. We'll have to see. I don't think the single channel configuration would be preferred. I think most consumers boards probably end up with that dual channel.
I mean,
so it's a good question, but I think it was like 7.5 millimeters to the second Cam 2 module.
And with the kind of airflow you get, that sort of horizontal through airflow you get on a server, I mean, that's going to be fine. Yeah. I hadn't made that distinction in my mind of like, oh, this is enterprise. That makes sense for enterprise. If the dual channel modules go up to 128, I can't see for at least for a long time needing anything more than that on a consumer desktop, even if it's prosumer.
Well, the vendors did say, hey, cooling will definitely be needed. On the MSI version that they were showing, they had a plate on there to kind of show it off.
Spreader on there,
yeah. The other ones didn't, but they didn't say that it won't ship that way. It's just that's what they're showing off with the engineering samples. They didn't have one.
Well, I asked JJ the obvious question. Where's the crazy heatsink with the screen on it?
Oh, that's coming, I'm sure. Yeah.
Where's the ROG version?
Of course.
Right?
I also did ask all 3 of them. I was like, I mean, this is partially around the whole mini ITX form factor and discussions around that.
We were talking about this.
Yeah, and I asked like, hey, could you actually theoretically put the module on the back? Could you get any benefit from it? Would that help in any sort of situation that maybe you're space constrained, like mini ITX board? And all 3 of them, the people that I talked to, like, were kind of taken aback, like they hadn't necessarily thought of it. And then they were like, well, yeah, theoretically, I guess you could, but yeah, like you wouldn't have to make sure that heat wasn't the problem, because usually in most cases the airflow doesn't really go across the back of a motherboard kind of thing. But in mini ITX systems, maybe
these are manufacturers who've been putting M.2 sockets back there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that generates heat too, especially depending on what generation PCIe gen you're on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that is a way when we're talking about Gordon. When you're always talking about how ATX needs to evolve. Instead of sticking UDIM slots on the back of the board and just sticking out, because that wouldn't make sense. It does make more sense to lay it flat, like a Cam 2 module. At least, when you're trying to think of different configuration kind of types. So
I do think that makes more sense for your ITX and MATX as well. There is more room for surface mount devices and stuff on a full ATX board, I think. But
for sure,
that's my opinion. What do you think, chat?
And looking at most of the boards there, it looked like they had the sort of mid-size Cam2 modules on the board, and then it looked like the keep out area, it was actually designed to accommodate the larger Cam2 modules, because there are, for the dual channel modules, there's an A, B, and C, and the C module is the largest. It looked like it went all the way to the edge of the motherboard. So
They get pretty big.
Yeah.
they got pretty big, and it was a little, I mean, it's a little odd because it feels like, well, okay, again, it does solve the problem of running. You should be able to hit higher clocks in a 2 DPC board design, but at the same time, that's a buttload of space, right? And you typically are going to push out. And then so I thought, was it ASRock or was it ASUS that actually had to move the main power connector? So the main power connector is generally to the right of where your UDIMMs are. And I thought I saw one of the boards where the main power connector was actually moved
further
somewhere
down.
else in the board.
I don't remember seeing that. I'd have to go look at the B-roll of my video, but
I mean, I think the other thing is the compatibility stuff, right? If you're putting all the RAM on these, because it's not like you can put 2 of these on the system, right? You're putting one in, so you don't have people trying to mix and match different sticks, and then are like, hey, my stuff's not stable, but whatever. Which I don't know how much of a problem that is, but I still feel like people try to populate all 4 slots of their machine, and then are surprised when weird things happen.
And which I did see in the comments, some people were like, well, this sucks because in order to upgrade it, you're swapping the module rather than adding more sticks. But to your point, a lot of times people don't realize, hey, when you add more sticks, then you're not going to hit as high clocks, or maybe you have some sort of incompatibility problem where you don't realize that it's actually downclocking to the lowest common denominator, things like that. So it's
there's like one more thing. Think about this: Threadripper 9000 with dual cam 2.
Oh yeah,
right, because you have quad and
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Anyway, sorry.
But I mean, most people don't realize that, even especially if you're buying, like, you can buy the same memory, the same SKU, and get different chips and get different compatibility inside even the same part number, which is, it feels bad.
Oh, and Tim says the MSI board had the power connector on the back, but that's obviously because it was Project Zero based. And then there was a whole performance thing. Obviously, performance theoretically can hit different than traditional UDIMM, at least spec wise. But ASUS was saying, because I asked each one of them what are the performance benefits for whatever sort of workloads, and ASUS was the one who was like, actually, for normal use cases like gaming, like nothing. They weren't seeing anything, but both ASRock and MSI were like, oh no, we're seeing huge performance benefits even in something like gaming. So I was a little confused on that because everyone was kind of saying something a little bit different to the advantages of performance-based stuff. But then ASUS also said, hey, if you're really chasing performance, then you want soldered on the board. Which I think that's, a lot of people would say that's a bridge too far. So maybe, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there are some people. Have we ever heard of any motherboard manufacturers soldering it to a desktop board? Is that a thing?
Not that I can think of in the last 20 plus years that I've ever seen. We've seen desktop boards with SODIMMs. You've seen them with weird configurations, but
they
soldered, no.
They didn't even solder it on with the NUCs, right? Like even the small form factors usually have SODIMMs.
Yeah. It's just always been easier, cheaper to do it. It's that, I mean, most of it, I'm guessing, is a cost play. But again, even in my original video, I'm like, I think I love the idea of, Cam2 modules. I think it's awesome. And then clearly for laptops, LPDDR5 Cam2 is going to be the standard, it looks like, for replaceable memory on a laptop. But, I sort of said, well, what if AMD and Intel says, you know what, the density on DRAMs is so awesome and we can put it in the package? Don't think about it putting on a motherboard, because now you have to depend on the motherboard maker. But what if it's actually just added to the package? So you just have a larger CPU, a larger socket, and now it's that you just have 64 gigs of really high speed memory in the package. And again, you're as close as possible to the SoC, and they could probably do things magically that you could never do with UDIMMs or anything else, because again, you're sitting right there, 2 millimeters away from the SoC. Would the audience accept that? Would people go like, you know what? It's worth it because look, now I'm pushing XX more bandwidth, XX latency on this soldered in memory. And by the way, you know what? If you're doing an APU, you've got a decent,
Right.
APU, and
Because it's
you
also
get
your
to-
VRAM then, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of
Now-
what X3D is a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's
like
all
you're
cache,
adding
right?
a little bit more cache to the actual CPU. So
It's just not very. It's not
just
a lot
taking
of it,
a step
so-
further. Yeah.
AMD, go
Yeah.
farther. Get the cache into the gigabytes. Let's go.
Well, also, this is like to Gordon's long-standing dream of getting rid of ATX or changing ATX. If they start putting it on the back, then it suddenly gives us two devices that people are putting on the back that need airflow in the back of the motherboard, and like we're in a whole new world because it is a lot of space for the front side.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you're talking about the larger modules, right? The really big ones. You said A, B, and C, right? So I'm thinking, could this lead to finally having a standard for eATX, maybe for that really high-end boards? And then, 'cause there's always going to be those $800 or $1,200 motherboards. But if they leverage that, like, okay, now we're actually really using this real estate, put that giant CAM2 module on here. Maybe they would have to end up standardizing. I would like to see that. I'm tired of there not being a standard for that. It's not even a real thing, eATX.
Yeah, I suppose I could see that on, HEDT, as everybody likes to call it, high-end desktop. So I suppose it makes sense.
Yeah.
Those boards are all pretty giant, and a lot of that stuff is borrowed from enterprise anyway. So yeah, but I think it makes a lot of sense to mount it on the back of the motherboard.
It does.
But you remember ASUS had, was it Project Utopia? We saw it at Computex maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
2019. Yeah.
And they mounted the UDIMs in the back of the board, and again, it freed up space in the front. And then I remember talking to a lot of people like, now I can't see how pretty my RAM is, right? Like, okay, that's the driver of what everybody wants, is like, I need to see how pretty my RAM is with RGB. And
Yeah, I'm looking at my RAM right now.
Excuse me, I'm just going to look at my RAM for a while.
Yeah.
That is
Take
one
a
thing,
picture;
though.
it'll last longer.
The aesthetics of Cam 2 are going to be, they're not going to be for everybody unless because what we're seeing.
No,
now is
I would say there's more potential because it's a flat surface area. So
then your heat spreader's
yeah,
going to be.
the heat spreader
Yeah.
is what's going to have anything that you want on it: a screen, more RGB than the top of a UDIM. So I would say the visual aesthetics could be even better.
I'm wondering when we're going to see something like, the old like AMD chipsets, X570, stuff like that. We had the fan on it.
Oh yeah,
That
chipset fans.
that could be a thing. Chipset fans, it could be a thing.
well, what about the other idea though? Like, so right now, originally Cam was for laptops mostly, and then Cam 2 is again meant for mobile, but also desktop all-in-ones. But having it parallel to the board does seem like not the greatest for space savings. Is there a way to, as we, again, it's the specs that was changed, maybe in the Cam 3, they decide to mess with the connector and make it, if they can electrically make it as good as Cam 2 is, but then have it mounted perpendicular to the board. But the problem is it's going to act like a gigantic sail and block a lot of airflow.
Right.
But then but again, this comes with, we have to re-engineer motherboards to where the RAM is now in line with airflow on a desktop, right? So it could be, so instead of having it mounted, vertical in front of the CPU, we just simply mount it above the CPU.
Right. Or behind it, behind the socket.
Yeah.
And you'd have to play with your cooler mounting, right? Maybe a little bit, depending on the size of the module. But how much closer could you possibly get to the CPU than right behind it?
Right.
And that usually, in cases, there's an opening there. There is a cutout there. Case manufacturers will go in, start putting cooling there, because some cases already have cooling for that area.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we answered it.
Well,
I think.
speaking
That's
of
it.
cases, we saw a lot of cases at Computex.
This seems like the most fun part of Computex.
It's a case show.
And mods. Like, this was Alex's first Computex, and we would walk around, and almost every booth had some sort of like mod, just to kind of show off. Alex is like, "Are they selling these?" And I'm like, "No, they just hire people to make cool mods to show off at booths for the most part. Yeah, and it was the same this way. What did you see case wise that you were excited about?
There was a lot of great stuff. I mean, Be Quiet came out strong with their
yeah.
And what was it called?
I can't-
600. Was it
horrible with
the
names.
light base 600?
And 900.
And 900.
They had two sizes. Yeah.
I like the idea of being able to have 3 orientations for your case in seconds. That was great. The implementation of RGB was top notch, and already there's an improvement on the way for it, making it even better. I'm not a fan of hotspots when it comes to RGB, and I think most people feel the same. So Be Quiet came out really strong. And of course, being that anyone who knows me and my branding, I have basically made myself obligated to love the Y70, the Height Y70, with their milky cases. They have a purple Tarot purple case, and like, who's making purple PC cases? All right, I've been out here waiting, but the colorways are really nice, and of course now they're making their own screens again, so you can get it with a screen now, because there was that whole drive on that. But I kind of feel like Fantex stood out the most. Fantex, I know you said you didn't get to visit their suite.
I didn't. I mean, I saw the news and stuff, and especially the one that had the curved.
Yeah, that's the Evolve X2. Bobby, I don't know if you're watching or not. I'm sorry. I want to call it the Evolve X squared, because you made the 2 an exponential 2. So it's Evolve X squared. And it really is a stunning case. It does borrow some of the aesthetics, I think, from it, and they said it was mentioned in them quite a bit. The Founders Edition NVIDIA cards kind of has that sort of, you have two colors. You have the silver and the gold, and it is, in person, it looks way more expensive than it actually will cost. It has that feel when it comes to the materials, the build quality. It was really, and these are not even like the final versions, I think. So to me, that right there was the most like visually stunning case. I think it's gorgeous, and you're starting to see cases come out with this. We were getting 180 degrees at least on a portion of the front of the case there, where you're getting glass all the way around. And we know they're really aggressive on fan performance over at Fantex. So getting that chimney style intake and exhaust shouldn't be a problem. And I suggested this, because you're getting all your fresh air going just to the GPU. I was like, okay, have an optional filter for the rear fan, so it can be a reverse flow fan for intake directly to the radiator. And they were like, all right, okay, I see you. I see what you're saying. But also, they didn't. It's not just in the high end. That case is going to be $149.99. Would you have guessed that?
Yeah,
It's a lot of glass for $150.
Yeah.
It's a solid piece that you take off.
And then
which is cool.
I think it's actually
Is it
multiple
3?
pieces. Yeah, it's 3 pieces.
I thought it was.
The tolerances are really good.
Okay.
For something that's kind of still pre-production, but
okay.
also aluminum in there, actual aluminum in there for the sort of not applique. I don't know. It's not solid aluminum in there,
Like
but
the
yeah.
panels.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
panels. And
I'm-
yeah.
Did you ask why they didn't do a vertical mount for the GPU? I would think with that design, I mean, it looks good with the GPU kind of floating in the middle there, but it seems like you put a 4090 in that thing, it's going to block all your airflow from the bottom to the top, like you said, and a vertical orientation would maybe cut down on that a little bit.
I think they're imagining you're going to do a Founders Edition one, which is
Flow
at least
through,
in length
yeah.
and width a little. It's a little bit smaller than some of the AIB cards. But
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, look, I got a video coming out on it. Okay, he said something about it in there. I think vertical mounting is going to be an option.
Okay.
So yeah, but they didn't force you to it like Height does, which is something different that Height does. You're not forced to do it. It's not part of the case design to do vertical mounting there. So that was probably my favorite one. We get to see these things. We get to see these things in person when you go to Computex, and I feel like in person it's even better. It's even better than pictures will really communicate. But also not just their high end. They also had some really nice entries, replacing some of their mid-range and more budget-oriented cases as well, and replacements for the NV5 and the NV9, which are going to add in compatibility with reverse connections on motherboards. Fun fact: I believe the NV7 was the first released case out of the NV line and there was less cable management room in there, they would have to completely retool it. So they're not going to have a Bat Connect NV7. It's not happening. Yeah.
I will say that was the other thing. I wanted to. I ran out of time, but I did want to do like an update to back connector stuff. Like, hey, what's the status of it? Because last Computex, that was the big trend that people were showing off was back connector stuff. And I wanted to do like, hey, where do we stand at a year later? Because there were some interesting developments. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, the back connector stuff was now just kind of baked into most cases. They were just like, you know what? Like, we have the cutout zones.
Yeah.
If people don't want to use them, sure. If they don't want to use them, whatever.
They've had to find ways to increase the stiffness of the motherboard tray, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But case manufacturers are making budget cases who have thinner sheet metal are having to thicken that up. Mm-hmm. So they're having to raise quality of the materials they're using to accommodate this.
Yeah, because I did ask Be Quiet in their new light base ones. They have cutouts for both BTF and Project Zero, and I asked like, hey, was rigidity a problem? They're like, no, because we make good cases.
Okay.
Like he essentially.
All right, Kevin.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He was essentially
calm
like,
down, Kevin.
Hey, we there might be a problem for some people, but not for us.
If you buy from those other brands.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the big problem converting existing case designs over is that if there's not enough gap between the back of the back case and the motherboard tray, there's just nothing.
That was the bigger thing. Yeah.
I told them, why don't you put in 90-degree adapters? Good ones.
Can you do a 90-degree adapter on a 24-pin ATX?
You can. Yeah.
I have done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it ran just fine.
It's still quite a bit of it's still more height than a lot of like my old NZXT case wouldn't have enough space on the back for a 90-degree, I don't think.
Which why I think it also helps coincide with the fact that a lot of cases are dual chamber or have an option to be dual chamber as well. So like I think it goes hand in hand, which is nice.
And I want to mention one brand specifically when it comes to cases, okay? And this is a brand new one. This is actually the next video I'm publishing, but it's on a brand called Tryx, Tryx. It's not Trix, although that would probably roll off the tongue a little better. But it's because it stands for Try X or Try Everything is what they're kind of going for there. But they have, I can't remember the name of the case. Oh, good.
So many names.
Sorry about that, but
I'll look on the website.
So they're, it is. This one is already there. Yeah,
Luca, yes.
Yeah, the Luca. So the Luca is a dual chamber case. It is gorgeous, mixture of aluminum and metals and paint, of all that stuff. But it's a really nice looking case. They have kind of a half power supply chamber basically that is modular. It can go to the top with the motherboard moving down. Motherboard can move up with the power supply at the bottom. There are a few minor issues to with it, like if look at the base of that, look at the feet of that. So it has these cross sections of aluminum for the feet, and they sort of meet in the middle and make a perfect sort of diagonally kilted square that's going to sort of cut off airflow to the middle bottom fan. There are little cutouts there. There are little cutouts there, but theoretically, well, I'm going to test one of these things. But really, it is a new brand that is coming in really strong, aiming at the premium market. Their panoramic AIO or Panorama AIO is really nice. The way that they did it is very, but they're coming in premium, so they're looking at like.
Does it have a bent screen? Is that what I'm seeing on it?
It does.
Oh, nice.
Yes, the panorama, the bent screen is really cool, especially some of the included animations kind of give it a 3D effect, the way that it works. It's really nice.
AMOLED too.
Yeah,
so
it's AMOLED.
nice screen.
And you can also, on the S, I think it's called the S, you can actually take the screen and you can turn it. So depending on how you have your case oriented, you can have it going. It's cool stuff. Keep an eye out for Tryx. That's a brand that I'm
Tryx.
Tryx, right? See, I didn't even say the name right, but that is what it means. So I got the anyways, keep an eye on them. They're doing really cool stuff. They had other cases there, including one that had like bungee cord for the front panel, or it looked like friendship bracelet bungee cord kind of stuff.
No, it was that cord, paracord.
Paracord.
Yeah, but it was a little stretchy. But they had all these different colors. That one, it's a cool concept. They also basically took the concept of the snow blind. Remember the iBuyPower snow blind? So they had the LCD without the backlight on it. Basically, it was just a black LCD on the snow blind, and your inner lighting on the case would light up what's on there. But for this one, they have that, but they also have one that's just a full LCD. And it's a small form factor case.
Yeah,
And that's your jam right. That's your Jimmy Jam right there.
Yeah.
So that one, I'll show you show you some video of it. It's quite nice. And I think that one is closer to market than the bungee cord one.
Yeah, I was definitely wanting to play around in the small form factor one. They were like, don't touch that. That's
Okay, maybe it's not closer to
engineering,
market.
yeah.
Maybe it's not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but yeah, I wanted to be like, ooh, because it's supposed to like expand, like depending on what configuration you
Kinda like-
want, and you can also make it vertical.
Was it the Fantex Shift Evolve? Shift?
The Evolve X,
Yeah.
Shift Evolve X, something
Yeah,
like
that one.
Yeah.
That was a great case from Fantex. So yeah, a great small form factor case.
But-
But yeah, that's my breakdown. There were a lot of great cases out there, but those are just the ones that really stood out to me.
And anything that stood out to you, Gordon, case-wise?
Probably that Raspberry Pi case that everybody really wants somebody to make. Although, you know, I actually think that Raspberry Pi case, it could be made by anybody. So if you take any classic PC case that people love and just make a Raspberry Pi version of it, I think it would sell like hotcakes. Like, how about like, you know, the original NZXT case that sort of really started a lot of the glass and RGB revolution. That'd be pretty awesome to see in a Raspberry Pi version, right?
I wonder if Jeff saw that one.
Well,
You know, Jeff Geerling.
we we went to the Fractal reveal kind of thing that they had. It was the 88th floor of the Taipei 101.
Yeah.
I just didn't look out the window too often. But yeah, and I actually kind of feel bad for the people at Fractal a little bit because everybody there was talking about it. And like they're you know, they have a new CEO, they're talking about their new adventures, and they're getting into other things like chairs and headphones. But like all anyone was talking about was that Raspberry Pi case, and like some of the executives were walking around and, you know, thanking people for coming, and everybody was like, hey, by the way, you need to make that. And I could tell they were very nice, but I could almost tell on their face they were just like, oh my god, I know, shut up. Like, yes, everyone's telling us that. Will they actually do it? I don't know. I hope so.
They said no. They said no plans.
No plans, because I mean, it wasn't like. I got the sense that it was just this cute little thing that they did, that they were like, oh, this would be cute if we did this, and they did not expect people to just like laser hone in on it kind of thing. But now that they did, you know, hopefully they do something like that. Because I gave it a best in show. When we were supposed to submit our stuff, I was like, hey Brad, this isn't an actual product, yet. But like, can I give this a best of show, like an award on PCWorld.com? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
Here, in the home server community, I saw a bunch of people who are like, oh, that looks really cute. The thing I really want is something that looks like that holds like 8 Raspberry Pis and provides power to all of them, so that I can have one nice looking box in the rack that holds a whole bunch.
That would be fun.
Anyway,
I don't know. I just love the idea of having these little cute Raspberry Pis, but in iconic PC cases.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like every single iconic case you could think of. Like,
You think maybe Falcon Northwest might make a little tiki version, right? Okay,
Yeah,
Kel,
why
there you
not?
go.
Well,
That's
Cooler
that's a
Master
free one for you right there.
yeah, even if
CM101.
Fractal doesn't do it, I think there was so much buzz around it that other case manufacturers are going to look into it as well. For
Probably.
sure. Yeah,
Probably. There is one that I feel a little bit ashamed that I didn't mention. That would be the Alta D1 from the sponsor of this episode, Silverstone.
Hey, Silverstone.
And-
yes, thank you for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, and thanks for making a great case, because that one also was insane, especially for those who want to do home server stuff or home lab stuff. There's a ton to it. It just has all the goodies that you want if you're doing anything like lots of storage, you need a lot of cooling. It's modular. Love it.
So Gordon, they had a Silverstone had a prototype of that last year when we went. It was the one that looked like a footlocker, or not a footlocker, but like a locker. Right. Yeah, with the perforated holes on all the sides. Yeah, this was the actual final design. And yeah, they had multiple configurations where you were like, hey, do you? It had imagine a modular thing on the front, right? I think it had three slots for modular items. They were like, hey, do you want it to be the PSU? Do you want to have multiple PSUs? Yeah, go for it. Do you want it to be NASs? So they had like 4 drive bay NASs that you could slot in if you want it to be NAS. Do you want your drive your Blu-ray drives, that you love to have on your system. Hey, go for it. Or do you want one of all three?
It had two 100 and it had the two 180 millimeter fans, which I like 180 millimeter fans. That's cool. But you could take all that stuff out that Adam just mentioned and put in a 160 right at the top. So you got kind of a, two 180s and a 160 just kind of tagging along. It's really, I like modular stuff. That always gets me. The Deep Cool Morpheus is I love that case. It's super modular. It's a case where you can go from single chamber to dual chamber. You can do that. You can just choose to do that. It's a really cool case. And but yeah, with the Silverstone one here, it's kind of the sky's the limit kind of case, and we love those. It's going to be pricey though.
But to be fair, they did say that this is probably aimed a little bit more at enthusiasts and at people who maybe have workstations as well. So I think it had support for 360 millimeter AIOs,
something like that.
So that's okay. You're probably doing some sort of HEDT with multiple GPU configurations kind of thing in it. So
and if you dig that kind of industrial look too, it's then it'd be right up your alley.
It's cool.
It's really nice.
Unfortunately, Gordon, they didn't have any official plans with that case we saw last Computex, the recreation one, the April Fool's one. So yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but.
It's an NEC, 1990s, 1980s PC remake. It was an April Fool's joke. It was a super popular PC in Japan, apparently.
Oh, man.
It was a bummer. But
honorable mention, Corsair 9000X, I think, is their replacement for the 1000D. Man, I'm getting my numbers and letters all mixed up. I'm sorry.
You have it right. Yeah,
okay. That thing was monstrous. My back was crying looking at it.
I honestly, I didn't like it because that's not my kind of jam, but Gordon probably would have thought it was small form factor. But yeah, it was a huge case, and literally you could do whatever the hell you wanted to do.
Is this the one that they had 3 water cooling reservoirs set up in it?
Yeah. 4. I think it was 4 maybe.
It was nuts.
3.
It was
nuts.
Too big.
Insane.
Yeah, no, I was like, that's the opposite of my jam, but
this is my PC.
Go with God. I'm glad you like it.
Or maybe perhaps an edifice. It's like a.
Does this kind of speak to a trend that you were seeing, like a small trend? Because that's a lot of very high end, very large cases between the Alta and this new Corsair 9000X.
I mean, the thing is that those show off really well at a trade show because it's like, look at this big beast of a thing with all this hardware in it, right? I don't know how many people are actually buying that, but I think it was like everything. I would say in the bigger cases, I feel like the trend is modularity.
Yeah.
Hey, we have this huge case, and rather than having all this wasted space, you can configure it to be whatever the hell you want.
Modularity and visibility. What they're all going for.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just which I think is good, right? Because some of these large cases from the past, it's like, oh, okay, well, there's only one way to do it, and then if you're not filling it up, you have empty space, kind of thing. But yeah. No.
The thing about the modular designs is I wish that I hope when they're doing the documentation for it that they give decent airflow recommendations for people who don't know to go watch 15 YouTube videos. So that they know, hey, here's the orientation I should put the fans. Here's how I should configure this. Because I think a lot of that stuff's really hard for people to know as the cases get more complicated, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The more options you have for airflow, then you get option paralysis. You're like, how do I want to do this? How many fans do I really want to buy? Because they're not getting any cheaper.
Yeah.
Although Fantex. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, can we talk about the NZXT all chonked together fan?
Yeah. Actually, I saw
unibody.
that. Yeah, what they call it, the Uniblade or something. I can't remember names, numbers. Too many of them in my head. But I actually kind of liked it. They were like, hey, rather than doing a modular system, we're literally just putting all the fans into one. I mean, it does constrain you. Obviously, if you're like, oh, well, I bought the 361. But now I changed, years later to a different case and I don't have room for a 360, then it's like, oh, okay, well, you can't necessarily reuse it for something. So it doesn't scale as well. But I do like this sleek, simple look of it.
Height also came out with something like, they came out with their 360 matrix or whatever they call it. Height came out with those as well. Asia Horse has been making those forever. They've got the 360 matrix fans. I've been using those.
They're not new.
They're not new. But the thing about what would be new and nice is making the fans easily replaceable. if one goes dead, because otherwise you're replacing the whole unit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, that was I was going to say. Like the thing that worries me is with fans that have motors and RGB in them. There's two things to fail, and if one of those things fails, then you have to replace 3 fans for presumably 3 times the price of replacing 1 fan. Which
well, you'll appreciate this, Will. When we were taking that the briefing, I was like, the thing that excites me the most about this NZXT thing is that you only have to screw in 4 screws.
4 screws.
I do like that.
Yep.
Because that's what I do anyway. So at least now it's the official recommended number of screws to put in.
You just wanted validation. I see what's
Yeah,
going on
yeah.
here.
Like, oh, that's all you need for a 360 fan setup.
So
Madness.
I was talking to NZXT about this was a while back, and we were talking about fan stuff and new things they might be coming out. And I was like, reverse flow. When are your reverse flow fans coming out? And they were like, we're not really looking into that. I'm like, okay, all right, because some of their fans are nice. Like they have the duo, like where you have the ring of RGB on both sides. It's just reverse flow looks cleaner. I like it. If you spend enough time on it, maybe if you use LCP instead of your standard plastics, you can get closer to the frame and get better CFM, whatever, static pressure, I should say. But he did hint at the Matrix fans, and that was my question: was like, how can you replace any of the units? Are you going to have easily accessible and purchasable replacement fans to drop in there? Just if a blade snaps or if your motor dies on one of them. Have you made that? And I don't think that any company that's making the combined unibody 360 or 240, because there's some that have like the smaller ones, I don't think they're addressing that really.
I mean, the one thing I will say is like the failure rates on fans over the last 10 years has been 0% in my admittedly small sample size. So, I don't know. Maybe this is not a problem.
They've gotten better. They have gotten better at that.
Yeah. And NZXT, the other thing that I talked with them about is that they're offering a lot more black options for things, which, NZXT usually has that white colorway or the white and black, like that's just been their jam. And them and a couple other companies did offer some insights into like, hey, how many people are buying white versus black stuff? Gordon, what do you think the breakdown is just generally, roughly, for people who buy white versus black?
I don't know, probably 95% black cases.
No, way too high.
Really?
Roughly in the range
I bet it's
from
30-70.
What I heard was about 60 to 70% of the market is black, and that's why most companies just focus on black. But white, almost everyone had white options. Like that, it is starting to tick up and be like a viable market out there. Like literally, everyone had white options for either cases or even power supplies with white connectors. Like everyone had like white stuff just to be out there.
Well, and the vendors like it because they charge a little bit of a premium for it since they don't make as much too.
Yeah, and NZXT said they feel like their numbers for white were higher because a lot of people come to NZXT for white, right? So maybe they're a little more skewed that way, but
yeah, I don't know. I have a white NZXT case I bought years ago that still has held up really nice. Looks great. It's 5 years old at this point, probably.
So I have my so I do my PC Matchmaker streams where people can they submit their info, they get on the list, and then I help them out one-on-one with their budget and needs, what they're going to use it for, all that stuff. And they fill out a Google form. Since December, I've been using a Google form for that, which turns out charts based on the and this is just basic info. I even turned off the thing where it keeps people's emails. I don't want any of their personal info. This is just me finding out and since December, it's been about probably 400 forms that have been filled out or so, split between 2 different forms when I changed the email accounts that I was using. So here I have about 225 responses. Do you want black or white color scheme for your PC? And it breaks down to 68.9%, almost nice, very close to nice, percent wanted it in black, 26.7 wanted it in white, and then you had a smaller percentage of 4.4% who wanted a specific color, custom painting, wrapping, things like that. Now, on my previous form, that was a higher percentage in white, but it's just that's how it's breaking down now. It's still a majority of people who want their PC to be in black.
of course, yeah.
And it's a lot easier to match components to a black PC. Like if you want a white PC and you want like an all white build, it's tough to do. But I can appreciate that brands are trying to do that. If you look at heights their thick Q60 and now the Q80 because they made a 360 millimeter one. Whenever they do something in white on those and on their fans, it's Panda. It's white and black. And they're focused on that. They're like, we actually want that to be our thing. It's Panda, the Panda colorway.
No, don't tell Gordon. He hates pandas.
Gordon, what did they do to you?
There we go,
I just
man.
think pandas shouldn't. I mean, I don't hate pandas.
What did they
just
do to
shouldn't
you
exist.
though? To not exist? I just think they should not exist.
No, I'm not saying I would Thanos snap pandas out of this world, but
Okay.
people think about. Look, you know what? Like pandas eat. They eat bamboo.
They bamboo.
They eat like their weight in bamboo like every day or 2 days.
But bamboo grows incredibly fast, like annoyingly so.
I understand that. And then basically the pandas day, and I've talked about this before, the pandas day, they wake up and they start eating bamboo, right? You wake up, you like brush your teeth, you start eating bamboo. Oh, it's like 5:30 now. Got to knock it off. I've been eating bamboo all day. And then,
So they're
and then
snacky.
reproduce. Look, and then pandas reproduce like once every 12 years. And of course, you know what? If you ate that much bamboo every day, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So, look, I'm not saying I don't believe in the theory of evolution, but if like who's the guy who ended up on who came up with I can't think of his name for some reason.
Charles
Darwin.
Yeah.
So if Darwin had like not visited that island because he missed his boat and then ended up observing like pandas, I was like, there's definitely no such thing as the theory of evolution, because there's no way you have an animal that has survived tens of thousands of years and every day they wake up and they eat bamboo for 9 hours a day and they knock off and they're so tired, like, hey, how you feeling, honey? You want to try, like work on that kid? No, forget it. Yeah, I've been eating bamboo all day. Yeah, me too. Forget it. Let's just watch some Netflix. There's no reason for them to exist. Think about that. Like they eat their weight in bamboo. Right? I'm not even making this up. This is like, you can go to the internet and look at the amount of bamboo that they eat all day. Like maybe if you ate like an In-N-Out burger, like you could like
so
take it
mean to the bamboos, man.
He hates the pandas,
Yeah.
man.
I am
That's not
so
me
glad I
saying it.
asked.
I'm just saying,
I'm genuinely glad I asked.
think
Lindsay's
about that though. Like, what the hell? Why do you eat something else but the bamboo? No, that's all we eat.
What's next? Is it going to be koalas? All they eucalyptus?
Yeah,
And they're ridden with chlamydia too, so it's like a double
no, it's not
whammy
even
for the
good.
koalas.
Well,
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Love it. Look at this right here.
oh no! Oh, now Gordon's triggered. You just put a panda behind you.
I'm on Team Panda.
Yeah, Lindsay says, "I wish Gordon was my high school science teacher."
Giant pandas eat. Now I'm trusting Google AI here.
Nope,
That's the
first
most
mistake.
Yeah,
authoritative source you can get on the internet. Giant pandas can eat between 26 and 84 pounds of bamboo per day. So let me explain that to you. So you're a giant panda. You ate 84 pounds. It's probably more than that too, right?
Well, that's an
This high
average. So there's
intake
going to
is
be
necessary
some
because-
low, some high. Yeah.
This high intake is necessary because bamboo is low in nutritional value. Yeah, it's wood. So pandas must spend a large portion of their day.
They have to keep their fiber
energy.
intake up to stay regular.
In fact, according to Google AI, pandas can spend up to 16 hours a day feeding.
Cats spend that much sleeping, but we keep them around all over the place.
Yeah, you
it's
might.
because they're amazing.
I
As a
just
society.
am saying there's just no. Again, if Charles Darwin had landed like, oh, okay, well, we'll throw that away because like there's no reason for pandas to exist. Like, eat something else, man.
Okay. Well, to be fair, you keep your PC on the floor, so I don't know who to trust.
Oh,
I don't
Yeah.
even understand.
Gordon,
what
we need to
the
do that
problem is
video.
with that.
I forgot to
It-
tell
it
Paul
makes-
we were
it
going to do
makes-
that video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
You're gonna do that with
what's wrong
Paul?
with keeping your
That's
PC on the-
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's wrong with keeping your PC on the floor?
Oh, there's two of
it's-
you.
Yeah. Go
Here's
watch
two
watch
of them.
Paul's video that says PC on floor.
PC off
Floor. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's
Gordon's version is PC on floor.
right. It's
Yeah.
okay, but he also, to be fair, you have like a super tower, right, Gordon? You got
No, it's a large case. It's a PA602
okay.
EATX.
The new Pro Art case.
Yeah,
It's
that is
quite
a,
nice.
It's got wheels.
And
That's
it
a
has
great
wheels on
case.
the back of it because it weighs so much when it's fully loaded. You're not going to be.
Yeah.
picking this thing up and putting it on your desk.
They have platforms.
A friend of the show, Ruru2, says my desk space is more important than my PC Air. PC's
Yeah.
Air.
that
why
it
they
doesn't
have
have to be on
filters
your
on them.
desk. Just have it off the floor.
My PC
Like, no one
has
said it had to be
fans
on your desk.
on the front, back, and top. There's nothing on the bottom. Why I can put on the floor. Don't be
Okay.
hating.
Okay. Most modern PC cases put the power supply on the bottom with intake down there.
But that fan never turns. It's off.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's a
never-
decorative fan.
It has a sticker, in fact, that says fan not broken, does not turn on most of the time. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. So the vent down there, don't need it.
I have hardwood.
Also, dual chamber cases that have 3 fans down there to feed air to your GPU.
Well, I didn't buy one of those for a
There's a-
specific reason.
Okay.
and there's a filter on there. There's a reason they have the dust filter. If I pay for the dust filter, I want to do some work, right?
It's-
I mean,
yeah.
We're
Plus-
going to do this crossover video, Gordon.
It's
Okay,
not.
can-
It's not like the
Yeah,
70s
please.
I
in here.
will
We don't have
debate
shag.
Paul
Okay.
all day on this.
All right.
Yeah.
I will debate. There's nothing wrong with putting your case on the floor, and I would argue that one of the really good reasons for that is if it falls over. You know, if there's an earthquake or something, it falls over. I would rather have
If there's
you
a
know, my
panda that
graphics
comes
card
through.
and everything.
Pandas,
There's a
yeah.
panda looking for the bamboo. Like
If you got a bamboo aesthetic, if it's a
Bamboo
fractal
high.
north
Yeah, you're
and
screwed.
it's got the wood on the front, you're
You-
done. You're done.
it's not going to break if it falls over. It's not going to destroy every component on there.
I
If
mean-
it's on your desk and you live in LA, Paul, and it falls over in an earthquake, you will break
Paul.
everything in that
Well,
case.
plus,
Oh.
Gordon's PC is heavy enough; it could kill you. Like it could kill a small child or a dog.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would not. I would
or
have
baby
to have.
panda.
there-
To be
yeah,
fair,
rescue squad
to be
that
fair,
would get
Paul
me.
has made some poor decisions on PC placement very recently that he had to fix. He had a shelf. He put his PC on a shelf, and he's like, "Okay, you're right, everybody. It's not safe." So he went with a Thermaltake P3 wall mounted. I think that's the end game for me. Is wall mounted. I think
would be nice.
that is the way to go. You get some USB extensions, so you don't. If that's your argument about getting to your I/O, it's not a worry. I think wall mounted is the end game. That's a thing. That's a goal for me eventually.
Well, a goal for me is to get back on the Computex train.
We were talking about cases. It's okay.
Gordon, you asked this question to the live stream. Now I'm going to kick it back to you. Who do you think won Computex?
You know, I would have to give it to, like, for our crowd, for the YouTube crowd, even though there was somewhat negative reaction because they didn't see every single little, test. I would have to say AMD because they gave us the hardest launches out of there. You saw 9000 series, and of course people are like, oh, no, I don't know. But honestly, to me, 9000, it looks, like a decent launch. We'll have to wait and see to for the full briefings, but. When you're promising 16% IPC increase over Zen 4000 or 7000, that's, it's decent. So they also had their mobile launch. And I would say number 2, Lunar Lake. I think Lunar Lake accomplished what it was supposed to, which was to make everybody feel that Intel has something that is going to push back against Qualcomm. Qualcomm, I think, was probably not the biggest launch because there weren't a lot of reveals because they've obviously revealed a lot of stuff already. So, I mean, that's sort of like their position they're in. And then the actual winner, of course, is NVIDIA because Jensen woke up the next morning and the company was worth more than Apple, right? So it's just like there's nothing. That's the only thing that frankly matters.
I wonder if they sandbagged that to make that timing happen. You think that's possible?
No, I think he
You
just
don't want to
wanted
stop the money coming in.
You don't stop the money
No,
coming in.
And then, I mean, look at the Flex. He wasn't even part of Computex. He wasn't even part of the actual keynotes.
No.
Showed up, talked 2 hours about eating at a night market, and then no actual hardware launches, and basically woke up the next couple of days. The people treated him like a rock star, and then the stock goes up to the company's worth $3 trillion. I mean, that's the kind of thing the board, they applaud you for, right? So that's the only thing that matters to these companies is the share price. Unfortunately, people don't understand that, but yeah, no, I mean, obviously, but from an actual nerd point of view, I'm looking forward to what we're going to get out of, Zen 5. So we'll see. There have already been some leaks that look pretty good. Like I think they're saying the cache performance is doubled. Who knows? It could just be a leak. And then there were some CPU-Z leaks that look pretty good. Ryzen 5 part that looked pretty awesome. So, I know a lot of people are like, where's my X3D part? I don't care about anything but X3D. But, I think for desktop people, yeah, you got a 9000 part out of AMD, right? So
I did ask that question to Donnie in an interview on the channel. Hey, are we just going to be always on this cadence of the non-X3D launch and then the X3D following up after that? And yeah, it sounds like that's
what I was
they
figuring.
like to do.
I predicted
Makes
that way
sense.
too.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that makes a lot of sense actually, because like the 7800 X3D will carry through for a while to sort of get through that stock as still being kind of on top there. It'll continue to be just like the 5800 X3D. It'll be ignored in most charts as they're launching newer stuff. I don't know if you guys remember that, but there were certain launches in like when even 7000 series Ryzen, and then was it 12th or 13th gen Intel, or maybe 12th, but where they had just a little line, a little dash.
yeah. 13th gen launch.
Yeah. So the 7800 X3D is still doing its thing until they launch the new X3D chips, and it will still continue. To one thing to remember, guys, just because new stuff comes out doesn't mean your stuff slows down. That if that happens, that's probably your fault. You should clean up your PC and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Also, AM4 lives on.
it does. It just keeps on. It just
Keeps trucking.
It refuses to die.
Keeps
It does.
trucking.
I didn't have that on my big go card. I'll say that.
I did ask Donnie in that same interview because we were talking about AM4 at CS, and I was like, "Are we going to come back at CS next year?" And I'm going to ask you the same question: why the hell are you still making chips for AM4? And he said he would be very surprised if there are more AM4 launches in the future.
Oh, really?
So that's what he said in the video. So
That's not a no.
it's not a no, but he said he would be very surprised if there's any more AM4 launches.
You got to get him to make his surprised face then.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even sure why they really had to launch these parts, except maybe they had some slightly bend down parts from server that they just needed to put into market, because it feels like they just could have rolled on with price cuts to 5950X and 5900, don't you think?
I did ask. I was like, "Are these new buyers? Are these upgraders?" And he said it's a healthy mixture of both, and that they're still seeing adoption as far as while DDR4 continues to still have a price advantage, and a lot of people still have DDR4 sitting around. It is a viable option.
If it hadn't been a good product, we would be bemoaning the fact that they're still making this stuff. But it was good. It continues to still be good for most, especially for budget builders. AM4 is a great option, as long as you know it's EOL. Like in terms of, okay, well, you know what I mean. I mean, it's not as far as AMD was concerned, but motherboard manufacturers coming out with new products for it and just different things. DDR4 its life cycle will eventually slow down and it won't be as affordable anymore. But I think looking at that, and to me, one of the biggest wins of the AMD keynote was the fact that though we were fairly certain they were going to support AM5 for a long time, the only thing they committed to was 2025 and beyond. But now we have confirmed 2027 and beyond.
Yeah,
and knowing them, that'll be up to 2030.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, don't quote me on that.
We will see.
Just because I'm on TV doesn't mean you can quote me.
And it does look like X870, X870E will launch after the chips launch, right? That's kind of like what the rumors are. That
The motherboards, they had them there. They were there and launching. I think they should be.
Yeah, almost every major manufacturer had some options showing off. So
I think honestly, motherboards were some of the more to me what caught my attention the most. Cases were great, all that. Motherboards, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on. That could be it could have been a whole topic all on its own, if you ask me. The ASRock, what is it? The ASRock Taichi Aqua, in particular, which is it's a quote unquote next gen Intel. They refuse to let them put Z870. Z890. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Z890. Excuse me. Numbers and letters all over the place. Anyways, they refused to let them put that. It was next gen, and even though the sockets have said LGA 18XX for a couple of years now, you couldn't say 1851. Which Intel, why the 1? What is that 1 pin doing? Why couldn't it be 50? 1850. LGA 1850. It sounds so much better. Anyways, but this, the Taichi Aqua, all USB-C on the rear I/O.
I saw that. I thought that was a little, personally, I don't think that makes any sense at all.
2 Thunderbolt And it didn't say Thunderbolt 4, so I don't know where they're going. I don't think 5 is it ready for market yet?
It's 4.
It's 4, okay.
Yeah,
listed it
it-
for.
Yeah, I
won't
don't
be,
know. And then all the rest of them were all 10 gigabit.
Well, and actually, so I talked to the motherboard PM, or maybe he wasn't a PM, whatever he was, a really nice gentleman. When I was asking about the Cam 2, he then asked my opinion on that one, and he said they actually had an internal debate because they wanted to actually take the audio connectors off, like the
he
SPDIF
told me the
and
same
the
thing.
and
Didn't want
put
there to
2
be-
more.
Yeah, just to put all towards USB-C. That's all they wanted. No audio outputs because we'll just use USB audio.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, you can kill motherboard USB audio. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, because they're going to have a hub that comes out, and there was an Asus ITX board that had that. Had a hub with audio in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fine with me actually.
Yeah,
but
But yeah, no, I thought that was interesting. I was like, especially for like if you were trying to aim it at a creation kind of board, I guess I could see that. But I don't know. Yeah,
also
Yeah, but-
maybe in the future.
Sorry, go ahead.
Not having Type A's though, that feels.
It comes with
I mean,
adapters.
You got it. Yeah, I know, but that's just come on. That's just. That's
It
one
was
of
a
those
show off. It was a
attention-getting-
flex.
It was,
Yeah.
it was just an attention-getting thing, but
Yeah.
it's. I will tell you, you'll get pissed off immediately because mouse, keyboard, all the crappy ass
Mhm.
USB Type A stuff that we have, and then you've got to have adapters for each one of them. You're just going to be like, no, this is just stupid.
This was a high end board though. This
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
for somebody looking for something, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, you
to
get
show
2
off.
Thunderbolts, and then the rest are 10 gig USB-C. I mean, what you could do that over Type A. What was the point? You know, and to me, it just doesn't make any sense except to show off. So
And yeah, I think
was-
Adam had it
yeah,
right
it
there.
was
It was
interesting.
it was a flex. But one thing I will say was nice to see, and this is a personal thing for me. This is my opinion because I really enjoy white builds. There are practical reasons. They film better. They show up on camera better, and but also I think I like the aesthetics. But for a while, for not a while, these are fairly new boards from Gigabyte. But Gigabyte had these ice boards that were like with a white PCB. You know, before you would see like Asus with the Apex board had the white PCB, because it was only a really, really, really high-end board. But these are boards that were coming in at $220, $250, and $299. Right? That was for the X670E. That's nice. I/O was great. The aesthetics were awesome. Well, they further improved upon those. Put in the plastics are all white as well. So if you really want that super ultra clean look, they have those, but that's starting to spread. MSI has it now. ASRock has it now. Asus has motherboards, but they didn't do the white PCB thing as far as I saw. But yeah, it is something that is starting to spread. I asked if it's more expensive. They're like, not really. So yeah, there you go.
how are they getting the PCB white? Is it?
Well, there's a thing, and at ASRock asked the same PM probably. What about aging on it? Like, what's going to happen with that? You have a lot of like you're going to have lights. Like if you do specific lighting, especially if you do like a liquid cooled system with like UV liquid, and it'll discolor it. He said they had to develop a coating for it. So it's just white PCB, but then they put an anti-discoloration coating on it. So they are paying attention to that. I mean, you don't want it looking like an old Macintosh, right? That's, yeah, like that. Get that yellow, that special yellow.
Look, more beige and green. That's what I say. I just give me the beige cases and the green motherboards. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I feel like it'll come
magnetes.
back. We'll come back full circle.
The classics.
Will, who do you think won Computex?
I agree with Gordon. I think it was AMD in terms of the big four. Intel seemed soft and like they were hustling to get something to show. Qualcomm didn't show me the numbers I cared about. And while I think Jensen's stock valuation is fantastic and I'm really happy for him, the stuff that they showed in their keynote was less exciting for me personally than AMD rolled out with a strong focus for consumers and enthusiasts, and then rolled into the AI and the mobile stuff. And I thought that was an interesting move, kind of a brave move on their part, honestly, because it wasn't, those weren't the parts of the market that are going to drive stock prices higher. That's the part of the market that's going to make enthusiasts excited, and I like what enthusiasts like.
Braithorn, who do you think won?
Well,
And it doesn't have to be the big four. It could be anyway.
okay. Actually, I'll do two then. I'll do one for the big four, and then one for the scrappy underdogs. Okay, all right, or regular companies, or whatever you want to say. I would say I would agree with you guys on AMD. My two reasons are the first one I mentioned already about committing on the support for AM5. The other, just the fact that they came out and within the first 15 minutes they covered the desktop and gaming segment, the desktop CPUs, like the ones that I would cover for my audience. That right there is one of those things where like they know people are waiting for this. They know people want to hear it, so you save it for the end. So they watch the whole thing. Nope. That to me was a power move. I think that was a good move. Also, it saved me from, because I needed to take my notes. It saved me from having to watch the whole keynote to get my notes for my video for my audience. But so I think that and also it's just like, yeah, in comparison to NVIDIA, they were winning outside of Computex. Cool. Let them have that. They didn't bring anything to the table. They didn't even have a table at Computex. So he did get to walk around and walk around like a rock star.
Almost every booth had NVIDIA racks.
They're there.
Booth, so yeah.
Whether you know, they're everywhere pretty much, but they didn't have to rent a booth there or whatever. They didn't have to get a place. And anything they didn't get, Asus took up because Asus was everywhere. They had 2 massive booths. But I would say that for my non, big company award, it's going to go to Trikes, actually. Everybody was talking about them. Including other case manufacturers. Because I would ask them, and not on video because they're on the clock, okay? And I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But I would ask many of them, like, what did you see that you really liked? They're like, dude, I thought Trikes was awesome. And it's not just any one product. They're impressed with kind of what the whole company's doing, like the whole vision that they have and the people that are running it. There are some really well-known people from other companies who have come together for this. So when I say keep an eye on it, a while back, I was saying keep an eye on Hype. Keep an eye on Hype. Actually, I think I told you that, Gordon, a while back at CES.
I think so.
I was like, yeah, keep an eye on Hype because they are going to shift. They're going to change things in the end. And you go now, like the cases I didn't mention are because they were carbon copies of Hype stuff, which it's the highest form of flattery, guys. But yeah, there was a lot. Hype's influence on case design was to be seen everywhere you saw PC cases. If it wasn't there, what I mentioned were like flagship, unique design cases, stuff like that. But I don't think anyone at this point can deny that Hype has made a massive impact. I feel like Trikes might have the ability to do that in whichever segment they end up focusing on, because they're doing cases and coolers right now, but they're little background. They might be, maybe they'll go into gaming furniture or something soon, or something like that. New desk PCs, anything. That's the feeling I got walking away. They could do anything.
Good startup vibes, yeah, man.
Exactly. So that, to me, the fact that they had everybody talking as a startup, everybody that was talking about them at Computex, because everybody's at Computex. I think that made them the underdog winner for me.
Good sized booth too.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, because obviously your channel, you focus on pre-builts. Any pre-built news? Any pre-built good stuff to talk about at Computex?
Actually, yes. And I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be working with them here pretty soon. But one thing that I had not really brought up on the channel because it's not really something that I thought they were focusing on, but Cooler Master is now doing system integration, and in their own cases with their own coolers, with all their own stuff, which can always be cool. Like you see Corsair do it with their Vengeance lineup, and it's all Corsair stuff. And having that single ecosystem is better for not having too much RGB software, stuff like that. But they are doing some stuff. I did cover them in a video that will be. I don't have the chops to get videos out during the event. I only got 2 out while we were there, unfortunately. We had, it's. I don't have the infrastructure really to support that. But so there's going to be more stuff coming out. But there is a small form factor one that's going to be released in a month. So you might want to tune in for that.
Nice.
It's in one of their newest small form factor cases. But there's also just a TD500 mesh, which is a super solid case, and they just do a solid build in there. So I'm going to start. I'm going to work together with them on that. Start covering that. Also, I didn't look at it at this one because I'd already kind of seen them. But MSI is coming in pretty strong with pre-builts. I had a good talk with Asus about their pre-builts and asking why they don't just use their PC DIY cases for their pre-builts. Instead, they use a case where it's like, oh, that's a pre-built, and you just look at it and you just know it's a pre-built. So why use that? So I'm like, people who buy pre-builts still want it to look like a custom PC, right? So I had to talk with them about that. We had a little discussion going back and forth, and we'll see where that goes. I hope they give it a shot because I think it would do a lot better for them. But that's a lot of what was there. We were really no SIs, like system integrators, really have a presence there. The only one would be maybe iBuyPower, but it's not them. It's Hype, and like iBuyPower doesn't really have a a place there. It's height that does.
Or on the show floor.
Yeah. So, it really is not a place for that kind of thing, but I was able to sort of look at things and apply them to, like, whenever I see the BTF and Project Zero, which, by the way, Gigabyte had another Project Stealth board.
They did, yeah.
Where is that going to go?
Yeah.
Like, where's the case compatibility?
I mean, some of them, at least at CES, some of the companies they were saying they had compatibility with all three. I can't remember who it was. It might have been
good.
Corsair, but
They must have some hover technology. There's got to be zero metal left around that motherboard tray, but okay.
I mean, it's all generally pretty close, Yeah.
Well, to me, I see BTF and Project Zero, and I guess Project Stealth, as a huge benefit to system integrators. Because if you're building at scale, you're building a lot of units. Having all of those things, you could go ahead and mount your radiator in there, mount your stuff in there, and you can still get to the freaking EPS 8-pin connector for the CPU power. It's still accessible, and you can verify connection, tug on all that stuff. Makes cable management simpler, makes it builds look cleaner, and you can visually inspect it easier. It's all right there.
And they can ship smaller cases with more hardware in them that's easier and cheaper for, like, the whole thing's better for them.
Right.
It seems. Yeah.
One of the realities of Instapack, right? A lot of these companies use Instapack to secure their GPU and or an air cooler if it has a large air cooler. One of the realities of it is you have to be careful when removing it. Why? It grabs onto cables and can yank them out. So move the cables around the back. It's a no-brainer for SIs. Like, seriously. So I guess maybe I have a different filter that I put things through when I'm looking at stuff. Like, enthusiasts, it's great for enthusiasts, sure. Actually, some enthusiasts might be like, no, custom cables are a great way to aesthetically dress up your PC. So there's going to be back and forth on that. But I think of it as an unquestionable benefit for SIs, especially large volume, like, the power thing. iBuyPower, CyberPower, Skytech's getting up there. The large volume SIs that need to verify and be able to do things at a large volume, I think it's going to be a no-brainer for them, in my opinion.
Love it.
I actually would love to do a backside build with unibody fans. Like, you could probably build that entire case, have it fired up, looking beautiful in like 12 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, the worst thing is, like, if you got to screw every single stupid fan into the radiator, and you've got to deal with all the wires. And that's why I'm actually a big fan of the things like the Corsair, the IQ Link, because I just hate having to wire up all the stupid RGB fans separately. So, and then have it basically in one single fan that you just mount to the radiator. It's just like, and then you're mounting it if you have a backside connector, it's just like, I'm just so over all the stupid ass wires. It would just be nice to screw everything in, seal it up, hit the on button, and go.
Boom.
In that case, you might like the TD500 Max from Cooler Master. I almost said.
Yeah.
Now, it's not rear connector, so you can use any motherboard, but it has a power board. So, and the cables to it are pre-run. Right. So all you're doing are patch cables, basically. You're doing extensions. So, and it looks super clean. I actually, Pedro of PCMR invited me to do a speed build.
That last year, right?
Yeah, this is the one we saw at Computex last year.
Okay. So it was there already, but I was just bringing it up because I got to build in one of these. Pedro of PCMR was like, "Hey, do you speed build?" I'm like, "Sure." Don't watch any of my streams, but yes, I do speed build. Maybe I'm a slow builder. I take my time. But he asked me to do a speed build with Cooler Master and a few other, like there were going to be some just different content creators who were joining in, stuff like that. And you mentioned the build in 12 minutes. I took 22. That's not bad. That's pretty good. But definitely those cables did help. Having that power board there was pretty cool. I think that was neat. But yeah, it wasn't a brand new product.
I don't know if you know this, Braithorn, but you're on the show with an actual speed build champion, and it ain't me.
Something of a legend,
Okay.
Yep. Will's cracking his knuckles.
Oh, boy.
I actually kind of, and don't you think it would be neat if they actually did speed? Somebody brought back the old PC speed build at Computex. I mean, that would be nice.
I'm not getting near to Computex. I'm afraid of the competition there. Those young YouTube kids who crushed me now.
That's who crushed me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those young kids with their nimble fingers.
Honestly, I would love to see it seems like the way the PC build has gone it would be nice to have a vetted contest with people who actually like no offense to the Mac journos, but there were a bunch of Mac people, like the old Comdex PC or CES PC race started, and like the I think the most complicated thing you had to put in was the memory. Maybe there was a sound card and a video card network card back then, but you didn't have to do a CPU. Like there wasn't the option of destroying a CPU by bending a pin or anything actually really complicated. And the time was it was like 10 minutes usually, Gordon, I think.
It was pretty short. So and it was really, I mean, it was, again, you had everybody from, Will, who had built, a crap load of PCs, to somebody who wrote for the Wall Street Journal, and no, they're not. They're a Mac person, and they really did not. They were not PC people, right?
They were consulting the little cheat sheet that they gave you to learn, because the trick was always like you didn't put one screw in, they DQ you or whatever, which happened every year, and then the person who got DQ'd was always really upset. But
we should probably wrap it up soon, but I do want to get to some super chats. I been neglecting them. I'm so sorry. Friend of the show, VC Jester, gave us $5 a long time ago. Thank you so much. Said, don't make me send another strongly worded letter, Gordon. And I don't remember what it was.
That was in the beginning. We were talking about food, I think.
Southern food. Yeah,
Southern food. Yes.
Yeah.
Southern food is the better food. That's just simply the truth, right?
As a Texan, I can agree.
Friend of the show, Skeet Sayer, is asking or gave us a $5 Canadian super chat. Thank you so much. Said, what does Gordon feel about Jensen telling TSMC to charge more? I don't know this quote.
I think because TSMC came out and said they may have to charge NVIDIA more, and then I didn't know that he had responded, but I would imagine probably because they have the war chest. It's like, okay, if you want to raise prices on everybody, that they can probably afford it. So that just may be part of the back and forth. And it does feel like, both AMD and NVIDIA came out with some pretty big news saying they want to build these AI centers in Taiwan. So I kind of wonder if they want to make sure that, Taiwan has a place in the world and for technology, and it stays there. So again, TSMC having more money, more resources is probably better for their world from what they seem of it. But yeah, I don't know how serious he is about that, raising prices. I don't imagine if NVIDIA had to raise prices, it would stop anybody from continuing to write them checks. So I don't think it makes any difference. Could have just been playful messing around, or it could have been honestly like, yes, please go ahead and raise prices on everybody. It only hurts my competitors more than me because they don't have the war chest we do, right?
I assumed it had to do with Intel too, making their first CPUs on TSMC using TSMC process. So
right, but I mean, you've got Apple there, you've got Intel, you've got AMD, and so I don't know what to make of it. But I do know that higher prices from TSMC probably would not slow down NVIDIA's momentum, right? Because nothing seems to ever slow down NVIDIA's momentum these days.
I'm sure they'll pass the savings right on to the customer.
Yeah.
We got a $4.99 super chat from friend of the show, Clay. Thank you so much. Said, I always appreciate Gordon's real-world, grown-up business take. It's usually the correct answer to outrage from younger, out-of-touch gamers. That's what you get.
Yeah,
I'm the youngest here. Was that
you are the youngest here? Yeah, you're a little baby.
It was just about the world being about laptops. But if you watch YouTube, you would think it was some Star Trek world where everybody had desktop PCs and there was no such thing as a laptop.
And where everyone built their own PCs.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's like,
Yes.
So that was my freak out. I was like, 90% of this stuff is DIY, but most people are buying pre-built or laptops. So what's the deal?
Friend of the show, Eek44, gave us 89 Danish krone, which equates to like at least $4,000 US. So thank you so much. That's a lot of money. Says AI fan blows a lot. Maybe AI fans? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Also gave us 89 more Danish krone. Thank you so much. Wow. Said, be quiet, case shut.
I think maybe the first one meant AI fans are blowhards.
Maybe.
Maybe. I didn't say it.
John Smith. I'm sorry. John Smith. No. John Smith gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. And said, Gear Seekers should get a shout out for getting video of Intel's new socket out on air. You can't see it today, but yesterday about this time it was there. He had to edit the video. I will say, yeah, they had a lot of motherboards that had stickers covering up what was exactly said. I don't know this video from Nick. that they're referring to, but yes, Nick does good work. Always
Yeah.
a good time hanging out.
Nick is hilarious too, by the way.
Nick is awesome. And friend of the show, Coffee, gave us $5 Canadian, which equates to probably like 2 cents US. So thank you.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. It does not. Said, I love Superflower PSUs. Did you see their new products at Computex? They showcase fans that can change airflow direction, cases, coolers, all that. I saw the booth. I did not stop in. Did you stop at Superflower?
I didn't. And let me tell you what it's like from someone who just went for their first time. Okay. If you're there, you're going to miss stuff. You're scheduled to do this, to do that. You're all over the place.
Yeah.
You're going to miss things. I missed, like, I wanted to go to the Montech booth. I wanted to go everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was scheduled to be somewhere at all times. So I'm getting some news about Computex just like you guys are.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
It's true.
How big is the floor compared to like a CES, guys? Do you have a good sense of that?
It's not as big as any of the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Yeah.
But it's multiple levels, and you have
Multiple
two
buildings.
main halls.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
spread out all over Vegas like CES can be. You'll
Yeah.
have multiple places to go.
It's
for
hard to
C-
compare.
I usually don't even get to the convention center.
Yeah,
during
I've only
CES.
ever been once. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
wow,
say it's
okay.
significantly smaller than what you get out of the main convention floors, because those things are multiple football fields.
Yeah.
The football stadiums inside a football stadium is what
Yeah.
I would say-
Las Vegas is like. So I'd say maybe a third of the show floor.
Maybe
or the smaller one.
maybe you know the middle one.
North.
No, not the north.
Well, there's a Venetian Expo.
Yeah,
part.
yeah. No, but like
Yeah.
of the Las Vegas Convention Center,
okay.
there's the north, there's the central, and then there's the south, which has 2 floors. I would say, if you're familiar with the layout, I would say it's the central, but without the upper layer. You know, they have the steps kind of halfway through, so it's really just the lower layer, and then there's 2 floors.
But it's very
okay.
concentrated with PC tech and computer tech. I mean, that's the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
CES is for all consumer electronics, and Computex is for computers. So it's all that condensed, but it's still more than you'll see at CES and all concentrated. You don't have to wander through different vacuum cleaner companies and foot massager companies to find PC stuff. It's very condensed.
Not aisle after aisle of ebook readers and
Well, usually CES is just appointments for us. Like we're going from appointment room to appointment room, where at least at Computex there are show floors to walk around
Right,
for the PC, which is nice. And then Coffee gave us 2 more Canadian dollars and said heresy detected. I think
probably
at
for the-
my comment of
Look,
of what it equates to.
It's real money. I don't care what everybody says.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Gordon, you should take us out of here. We need to get going. We've been going forever.
You hungry?
Too long.
Oh, I haven't
hungry.
even watched the clock here.
Yeah. So let's get out of here. A lot of good talk.
Yes, great talk. Check back next week for your Fix It PC talk on the Full Nerd. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes Pocket Cast, which, by the way, has an awesome Android app,
Yeah.
or Spotify.
Good update.
Send questions and comments to thefullnerd@pcworld.com. And if you're on one of those services, please do leave a review. Every time you do, a panda considers eating a hamburger instead of bamboo. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Will Smith.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Special guest Braythorn.
Thank you for having me. It's a huge honor to be here. Thank you.
YouTube.com at Braythorn.
Brayathorn, yeah.
Oh, yes. Where do we find you? YouTube.
It's
What?
any platform, just put Brayathorn. There you go. That's
How do you spell it?
BRAETHORN. It should be
true.
in the description.
It's true.
Cool. And Adam Patrick Murray's going to take us out.
Yeah, and with that, this is the final time that a full nerd will appear on the PC World YouTube channel. This is this is the final episode. Now everything is going over on the PC World YouTube channel at youtube.com/the Full Nerd Podcast. Go subscribe over there.
Go
if you're
subscribe,
wondering where did the Full Nerd go? It's over on the new channel. So thanks everybody for watching. I'm gonna try to take us out of here from a distance. Thanks. Bye.
Let's go, nerds.
Squinting at a monitor 15 feet away now. Oh, I think